Yvonne Gathing and her daughter Giovanna Bedford are suing neighbors Veronica Hill, Essie Grayson, and Charles Bowie for vandalizing their Halloween decorations. The defendants are countersuing over the sale of a car.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 433 on the calendar in the matter of Bedford Gathing versus Hill Grayson Bowie. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. Be seated.
Who is Miss Bedford?
I am.
Whose home is it?
Mine.
You're Miss Gathing?
Yes.
According to your complaint, you do an elaborate Halloween lawn house decoration. These are your neighbors.
Yes.
And for some reason, which you will explain to me, which I seem to get the gist of here, there is now bad blood between the two neighbors. And it is your claim that somebody on their team, probably this young lady right here, you're Veronica?
Yes.
Vandalized your Halloween decorations. And you want them to be responsible for that and for the harassment that they've caused you.
Yes.
Whose car was it?
It was my car, Your Honor.
You're Giovanna.
I'm Giovanna.
So let me try to explain to Bird, because if Bird can get it, we all can get it. Giovanna had a car. What kind of car did you have, Giovanna?
A 1994 Buick Roadmaster station wagon.
And you lived with Miss Gathing. You related?
That's my mother.
Great. Then you got tired of living with your mother, and you left, leaving your old car at her house.
Yes. Yeah.
And you left it there for about 8 months.
No, I actually left the car there because it was not running.
Just a second. I said you left it there for about 8 months.
Yeah, I was gone for about 8 months.
That's what I read. While you were gone, your mother got disgusted with looking at this car that was in her house, and she sold the car to whom?
Me.
And you are?
Charles, last name Bowie.
She sold the car for $500, and it wasn't running. Is that right, Mr. Bowie?
Yes, ma'am.
He took the car, saved up some money, and then invested, according to him, about $1,300 in the car to get it running. So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you come home. You found out that the car had been sold by your mother to Mr. Bowie.
I found out from actually Miss Grayson that the car was sold.
And you wanted it back?
Yeah, I told them however much it was paid for, or whatever the amount was, that I would be happy to give it back to them. They refused, being so that I owed payments on the car. I did the next best thing.
Well, let me ask you this question. You owed payments on the car to the dealership?
Yes.
Were you paying them every month during the time that the car was sitting at your mother's house?
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm sure you have proof of that.
I don't have proof, but only thing my dealer did was he did give me a copy of the pink slip to show you, and he wouldn't have given that to me if I wasn't credible for it. He did give me a copy of it. Only last payments I had was 2 last payments in the amount of $400.
Did you pay off the car?
No.
When were you supposed to pay off the car?
Actually, I don't remember the last ending date, which was this happened in what, 06, about the beginning, middle of 07.
You following this story?
Yeah.
You're getting this story now?
I got it.
That's a lot of what ifs. I don't know.
Because I don't have the dates, Your Honor. I don't.
You didn't finish paying off the car?
No, I did not.
Who has the car now?
I do.
And the dealer gave you the pink slip for the car?
Yes, he did. A copy of the pink slip. And I have that if you want to see that.
You must have a very nice relationship
Yes,
with
I
the
do.
dealer.
Yes,
must
I
be
do.
a very nice relationship. Now, Ms. Gathing,
Yes, ma'am.
what made you think that you could sell this car to Mr. Bowie?
Actually, I thought the car was paid for.
So you were mistaken.
Yes, I was.
When you sold the car to Mr. Bowie, did you lead him to believe that you had the right to sell the car?
Yes, I did.
Well, it wasn't your car to sell, right?
Yes, my name is on the car also. That's why I felt I could sell the car.
Oh, really? Let me see.
And I was under the assumption that my daughter had paid the car off in full.
Well, in effect, she has, because they gave her the pink slip for the car, so whatever arrangement she worked out with the
Yes.
car dealership, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you absolutely have the right to sell it.
Yes.
Car has to go back to him.
No, the car is not paid for, Your Honor.
Just a second.
Yeah.
Shh. The car is not paid for. I just got that pink after the fact that I had before I even took the car back from them.
You're a scam artist. You're a scam artist because your mother did have the right to sell this car.
No, she didn't.
I'm speaking. Well, yes, she did.
It wasn't paid for.
Listen to me. I am speaking. Do you understand? When I speak, you don't. According to the title to this car, it was Giovanna Bedford or Yvonne Gathing. Not and, or. that means that either one of you had the right to sell the car, and according to you, you were supposed to pay off the car in dollars. You never did. The owner of this Baseline Auto Center, for whatever reason, which I'm particularly not interested in, decided that he forgave the rest of the debt.
No, that's not even the original pink. The original pink has my signature. He did that. Yeah, he still has the original pink there. He did that just for the efforts when the police came. He told me, since they had my car...
Don't tell me what he told you. That's hearsay. Your mother ostensibly... I'm speaking. Your mother ostensibly had the right to sell this car to them. Therefore, you are responsible to him for $1,300 if he can establish that he put in...
Okay.
I'm speaking... money into the car totaling $1,300, because if he did, based upon your representation and the title, and what she says to me about, well, they're not coming after me for the payments on this car anymore.
Yeah, they are, Your Honor.
I'm still... Show me.
I'm still making payments on the car.
Just a second. I asked you, when was the last time you made a payment? You know what you said to me? Maybe
you said, when was the car supposed to be paid off? It was.
When was the last time you made a payment on the car? Very easy for me to call and find out. What month and year?
It's been a while. It's been a while. Because we didn't know where the car was. My dealer didn't know where the car was. I didn't know where the car was. When I found out they had the car, he told me, he sent me an extra pair of keys and told me...
Show me when the last time you made a payment on this car. It was sitting for 8 months.
Yeah, and it's been every bit of 8 months since I made a payment. I couldn't pay for a car that I didn't know where it was at.
Ask your mother.
She didn't tell me. She didn't tell me. She told me, my mother told me something different. Honestly, she told me something different.
Then you're telling me that your mother's a liar. Just a second. Is what you're telling me I'm speaking. Is what you're telling me that your mother, madam, is a liar?
Yeah, because she told me something different.
Well, evidently she lied to him, too.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You decorated a haunted house, and one of the things was something I don't want to know about, and you want to tell me what happened to the dead body with the casket and the shoes.
Yvonne Gathing and daughter Giovanna Bedford say that neighbors Veronica Hill, Essie Grayson, and Charles Bowie destroyed their Halloween decorations. The plaintiffs claim the harassment stems from a car sale gone bad.
Okay, can I see the bills, please, for the car? Your daughter's a scammer.
No, I'm not. I can't back
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because she's lying to me. No car dealer allows you to keep a car if you haven't made payment in a year. And you can't
I have a very good rapport with him. You can call him.
I'm sure you have a wonderful rapport with him.
We didn't know where the car was at.
I am absolutely positive you have a wonderful rapport with him.
We didn't know where the car was at. I had no idea. My mother knew. I was gone. I moved to New York. I came back. I asked my mother, Judge. I asked her. I did not know
where the car was.
Listen to me.
She knew, but she didn't tell me.
One of the things that your daughter knew was that she had a car.
Yes. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
One of the things your daughter knew was that she had a car that had payments on it, which she wasn't making. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
She knew that when she moved to New York.
Yes.
She knew that when she didn't make a payment the months of August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. That she knew.
I know.
I'm speaking despite her rapport with the auto dealership. Do you understand?
I do.
Very good.
But I told my dealer, he worked with me, Your Honor, because I didn't know where the car was at. I asked my mom when I got back, he said, well, just hold on. We'll wait and see if anything comes up, if the car is reported lost or in an accident or anything.
Could you do me a favor? Close your mouth. Mr. Bowie.
Yes, ma'am.
How long has Miss Big Mouth had the car in her possession?
It was since the 19th of October.
19th of October. 19th of October to November, November to December. 2 months that she's known where the car is.
Yes, ma'am.
And with Mr. Rapport, could have come and repossessed her because she hasn't made a payment in 2 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
That's correct.
Okay. So you get your $1,300 back because you put in a lot of money.
Yes, ma'am.
You paid $500. Did they give you back the $500?
No, ma'am.
$1,800 on your counterclaim.
Can I see the receipt?
You could say nothing. You had no right to sell this car if what your daughter says is true, and I doubt it. But at this point, I'm not putting Mr. Bowie in a position of having to go and repossess the car. Do you understand?
Okay.
They have every right to be furious with you.
That's correct.
Every right to be furious with you And your daughter.
That's right.
We offered to pay the money back to them before it even got here, Your Honor.
The $500?
We
Yes.
offered to pay that and the cost of fixing the car.
Did they offer to pay you back the cost of fixing the car?
No, ma'am. They just offered to pay me the cost of purchase.
$500. Well, that's what she said when she walked in here. When she walked in here and started to tell me the story, she said, we offered him $500.
Yes, ma'am.
I told Mr. Charles Bowie.
Your daughter said they offered him $500.
That was me. I offered him the $500 back, and I said if he can show me the receipts, then I would be more than willing to pay, making him payments. That's when I was threatened that if I don't have his money by the Monday, she's dead, her husband dead, and the kids are dead. That was the threat that was told to us.
He said we didn't have the money by Monday, $1,800, that my mom would be raising my kids.
And he also told me that, I
So
said,
we
Mr.
did
Boyd,
offer.
let me make the payments to you. He said, you shouldn't be responsible for making your daughter payments.
That's what it was.
And I said, it doesn't matter who make the payments as long as you get your money. I don't have $1,800. I can give you the $500, but I have to give me
Work
the
out the
receipts,
payment.
and I work out the...
Let me ask you this question, and I want your daughter to keep her mouth shut. Does the car run now?
The car was running, yes.
Since your daughter is back
Yes.
from New York, has she driven the car? Don't look at me.
Yes.
Has she driven the car?
She's drove.
Just answer my question.
Yes, ma'am.
When she left the car, was the car able to be driven?
No.
Right. That's what she said. You could have
Correct.
sold the car and given him his money right away. And then he doesn't have to take payments. That's fair. That's reasonable. Because of your misrepresentation and your daughter's irresponsibility, what happened is he's out $1,800. And if you wanted to make him whole and do the right thing, and if you didn't have $1,800 right away, you sell the car and you give him the $1,800. You could probably get $1,800 for it. Is it worth $1,800, Mr. Bowie?
Ma'am, it's worth a little bit more than $1,800.
Fine. So I have no sympathy for you. Now you want to tell me, please, about the Halloween decorations? And tell me quickly.
Well, every
it's all
year-
decorated. You decorated a
Yes.
haunted house. And one of the things was somebody in a casket with shoes, something I don't want to know about. And you want to tell me what happened to the dead body with the casket and the shoes.
Okay, we was upset because we couldn't decorate because the threats, they were fighting in the streets, calling us out, threatening us. We couldn't leave a driveway. Friends come over.
Yeah,
and
okay, fine.
So
It
They
was
were
a lot
angry.
of harassment
They were
from
angry.
them.
They were angry. You should have sold the car and given him his money. Next, let me hear about the vandalism,
And
please.
So I was sitting in the backyard, and I saw Miss Veronica, her sister, in my yard on my lawn with the stick that she tried to hit me with, and she was swinging at the dummy that we made, my kids and us, all of us made.
Let me see it, please.
And then I have
I didn't speak to you. I don't want to speak to you. I spoke to you enough. Okay, so now we have dummies. And now I see that the dead dummies look even more dead. They're on the ground. All right. So you saw what?
Her
And the
swing-
shoe was off?
Yeah, they threw.
And you put the shoes off?
She threw the shoes down the street. Her and her sister.
Why'd you do that for?
I didn't do that, Your Honor.
Yes, you did. You sure you did?
No, Your Honor.
Sure
It
you
was
did.
the boy next door.
It was the boy next door? Did you
Yes,
tell
Your
that to
Honor.
the police?
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Why not?
Because the police never came for the vandalism.
Really? They never
No.
spoke to you?
Here's-
Can I
No,
have the
they
police
spoke-
report?
This is
I-
right here.
They spoke
Can I see
on
the
me
police?
on my baby's birthday.
And she was arrested.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
She was arrested.
I was
also.
never arrested, Your Honor.
well, whatever happened when
She
she was
was
cited
arrested.
out. But then, I have to get told I'm going to be put in body bags. I think that was just stressful enough every time I walked out
Did
the
you
door.
hear me say that I don't want to hear your voice anymore?
Be quiet, Joanna.
Okay.
And how much damage did this cause to the dead dummy?
I'm countersuing for the same amount.
You're not going to get the same amount.
Okay, because we were stressed out. We couldn't do
Why
daily
didn't you just
functions.
relieve all your stress by selling the car and giving him his money?
Your Honor, I tried to do the right thing as I...
No, you didn't. The right thing was to force your daughter to sell the car and pay him the money that he spent on the car.
I tried.
Not in payments, not $50 a month, not $100 a month. You have the right to sell it, and give him his money because it was your mistake that caused this bad blood. Before this happened, did you all get along?
Yes.
Well, that's ridiculous.
It is.
It's ridiculous.
It is.
And you know whose fault it is? You know whose fault it is?
my fault, 'cause
No, hers.
If my mom would have never sold them the car, I had no idea.
Didn't you? I don't want to hear your voice. It's your daughter's irresponsibility that caused the bad blood with the family. That doesn't mean that Miss Veronica, listen to me. You think I believe you? I don't. They don't have damages. You've clearly been annoying them, and it's got to stop. Do you understand?
Yes.
It has to stop. You're 22 years old. Are you married?
No.
What'd you have a baby for? What?
Because
You
I
live with
wanted
your
one.
mother?
Yes.
You live with your father?
Yes.
Very good. You think your mother wanted to be a mother taking care of babies all over again? She's got grown children. What does she need more babies for? But you made a baby. Act responsibly. Responsible people don't vandalize other people's homes. Take your hands out of your pockets. Responsible mothers don't vandalize other people's homes. Do you get me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good.
But I didn't do it.
Yes, you did. You or your sister. I'm not sure which one. But there's no question in my mind that you did.
Your Honor.
It's got to stop. Life is too short. Mr. Bowie,
Yes, ma'am.
how long have you been neighbors?
For about 3 years.
Life is too short. Do you own your own home?
Yes, ma'am.
And you?
I own my property. He's renting.
Okay. Shh. I'm trying to make peace. Don't you want me to try to make peace?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to live in war with your neighbors? Don't live in
No,
war.
I
It's
don't.
very unpleasant. And it all started over this car.
Yes, it did.
Well, the car's going to be resolved. Okay, Mr. Bowie?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to rein in your family.
Okay.
You have to make sure Miss Attitude over here does the right thing and her sister does the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Sister or brother? You have a sister or a brother?
I have a sister.
How old are they?
She's 15, 19, and 3.
And 3.
Your Honor, it was the whole entire family. It was Mr. Boyd, Miss Grayson,
I'm
the
trying
whole entire
to make
family.
peace.
Okay, this is what I'm saying where my restraining order comes in at, because they came to my door to fight us, calling us out in the middle of the street.
And your point is?
This is harassment.
Of course it's
This is
harassment. You should have paid him
mental
back the
anguish to
money
me and
that
my
you, in
kids.
fact, stole from him.
But they don't give a right.
Listen to
This
me. You should have
doesn't-
paid him back the money that you, in effect, stole. Then you wouldn't have had the harassment.
I threatened him to put me in a
Giovanna,
body bag.
shut up. Please.
Perfect. Oh,
I was just
should have
trying
done that a long time ago. You keep fighting with me. I'm going to say it once more. I'm trying to make peace. You evidently lived in peace for 3 years next door to these people. That peace was destroyed over this car deal.
Yes.
I am now fixing the car deal. Mr. Bowie is getting his $1,800 back. I'm trying to make peace. Do you understand?
I understand.
Do you understand?
I understand.
Your case is dismissed. Mr. Bowie, you're getting your $1,800. That's
Thank
all.
you, Your Honor.
Right group. Your Honor, this is case number 391 on the count in the matter of Flores Harrison versus Harrison. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Who is Miss Flores?
That's me, Your Honor.
Miss Flores, this is your daughter
Yes, ma'am.
and her husband.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your sister.
Correct.
You all claim that Miss Harrison made false charges to the Child Protective Services. Child Protective Services came into your home and removed your infant daughter for a period of 3 months.
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that because of these false charges, you were forced to hire a lawyer because you tried to get custody of the child from the state.
Yes, ma'am.
It's an interesting legal theory, one that I've never heard before. Miss Harrison says her niece, the baby, was in fact born drug addicted with drugs in her system. And Child Protective Services became involved in your case well before any recent phone call, which she says she did not make, but she knows who did. So I guess my first question is to you. Was your daughter born with drugs in her system?
No, ma'am.
Did she test positive for drugs in her system?
No, ma'am.
Was Child Protective Services at the hospital at all when your daughter was born?
Yes, ma'am.
And were they at the hospital to see you?
Yes, ma'am.
And did they have a file on you?
Yes, ma'am.
So that your first foray to Child Protective Services had nothing to do with either the defendant or anybody else who might have called?
No, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When you brought your daughter home, you were allowed to take her home from the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did she weigh when she was born?
6'8".
And how long was she in the hospital before you took her home?
We were there 2 days.
And after 2 days, you did take her home directly?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I stayed at my mom's for a little bit because I was nervous on what to do with the newborn baby.
Just a minute. Was the baby released to you or your mother? Was the baby released to you or your mother?
My mother.
I worked, lived, ate, and slept in the family court for 25 years. You think that I'm asking these questions because I don't know?
No, ma'am.
So your daughter was not released to you, but was released to your mother from the hospital.
Yes, ma'am.
And why do you think that was? I had children.
Because
I was a young mother and certainly inexperienced, but they didn't say you have to take the baby home to your mother's house. They said goodbye, good luck, keep your fingers crossed, you know, hopefully these kids will survive. So why do you think the baby was released to your mother?
Because they claim that she tested positive for cocaine and marijuana, which she did not, Your Honor.
You mean the claim was that she tested, but you said that the tests were wrong?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second. You have the papers that show me the tests were wrong?
We have my drug test. We finally got the copy of it.
Let me see it. And let me see the drug test that caused the child to be sent home with you.
That would be it.
Well, it says presumptive positive.
For opiates which were given to her in the hospital during the birth.
It says presumptive positive.
Your Honor, I had Demerol and epidural. That drug test was taken after I had my daughter.
Now, you tell me when the second alleged contact with Child Protective Services was from your sister-in-law. You believe it's from your sister-in-law. You have no proof that it's from your sister-in-law.
There was an argument between these two one day on March 31st. All of us were together. We were at a friend of mine's house. David was to meet us there. He was at work, and he showed up, and he was on the phone with his sister, and they were having a huge argument.
What were you having an argument about, David?
She had called and said that she was pregnant with twins.
Put your hand down. Your sister said she was pregnant with twins.
That's
Go ahead,
correct.
and?
So after we talked about that and what was going to happen, I called my Aunt Melissa to let her know because, you know, my Aunt Melissa knows everything in the family, what's going
So
on.
your
She's
sister,
basically
your sister is confiding in you, and you called your Aunt Melissa.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So after we hung up with my sister, my Aunt Melissa called Diane and talked about it.
Our aunt.
Our aunt.
Who didn't know about your plan.
And the reason why I told him that was because I told him prior to that, 6 months before that I don't want to talk to him anymore. And he called me bragging about, oh, well, I'm going to get a car and blah, 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 blah. And I was at my place of employment. And I told him, I said, I don't trust you. I don't want to talk to you. I told you, don't call me anymore. And then I said, you want to know why I don't trust you? And he said, why? And I said, because I'm pregnant with twins. And just to see what he would do, he went and he told all of my family members everything, and then we got into a fight. He
Are you
called me
pregnant
back.
with twins?
No.
That was a good one.
I see. See?
That was a good one. So that made you look pretty.
I did it. Sorry.
That made you look pretty foolish.
I sure did.
Well, serves you right.
And that's why we fought.
Serves you right. You were a gossip. So she got you good. Anyway, go ahead. So then they got into a big fight.
She continued to call for at least 8 hours that day. She was yelling and screaming. Everybody in the room could hear it.
She was yelling and screaming.
That she was going to call CPS and have the baby taken away. She said this, I don't know how many times the phone calls went on until 9:15 that night.
Okay. When did the Child Protective Services come to your house?
The next morning. They told us the phone call was placed at 9:30 p.m. that night.
Okay. And?
They said that there was a report that they had been out partying, doing cocaine and heroin, and had left the baby alone for over a period of 3 hours, that there were dog feces on the floor, that the house had cockroaches, and was a total mess. I have proof that none of that is true.
Whose house did they come to?
To their apartment.
Well, I assume they looked around your apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
And if they looked around your apartment, they saw that it was in good order.
Yes, ma'am.
So then they wouldn't have taken the baby.
Yes, ma'am. They had to investigate.
Well, they could investigate, but they don't necessarily take the child unless there's a prior history.
We had to immediately go to emergency hearing and take drug tests, which proved that we weren't doped up the night before.
So then my question is, why was the child out of your custody for 3 months?
Because they said that I tested positive for marijuana, which I didn't when they gave me a drug test at the hospital.
They said that you tested positive for marijuana when?
At the birth of the child. At the birth of the child.
Did you do a hair follicle test?
Yes, ma'am. We have all those results.
Can I see them, please? What's all about recovery?
That was where I had to take my drug test after the child was removed. The part where it mentions that my hair test and everything came out, because we can't actually have records of those because the court ordered it, is in these court transcripts that we brought along.
Can I see it, please? What?
I just wanted to say they know how to pass drug tests because my brother was on probation for 6 months and he used a cleaner and he was able to pass his whole 6 months through probation. So he knows how to clean out his system.
Well, you may clean out your system, but you can't
You don't
clean out
clean
your
out a
hair.
hair follicle test.
Good try.
And can I say one more thing?
Shh. I don't see where this says that a hair follicle test came up negative.
That's them saying that all my tests were negative.
Transcript says that they came up negative.
Right.
Listen to me. We don't believe the child was in any kind of jeopardy when she showed up. We don't believe the mother was under the influence, and we did a drug test to prove that. That doesn't say it was a hair follicle
They do
test.
both
They
at
do
the
both.
same time.
Listen to me. That's not what this says.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. I'm telling you, what she did was disgusting.
And later today,
I was actually under heavy drug use at
So whose fault is that? Mine?
No,
Whose fault is that?
it's mine.
Good.
and husband David claimed David's sister, Diane Harrison, told CPS that Christina and David's baby was born drug addicted.
Now, did you call Child Protective Services?
No.
Who did?
One of my friends.
Why?
One of actually me and Christina's mutual friends.
Did the person call from your home?
No, from my cell phone.
From your cell phone?
Because David was talking to a bunch of people when we got into an argument, saying I'm gonna, certain things about fighting.
Stop clicking your nails.
Sorry. He was saying certain things to certain people that were very upset, and he was making threats to me and to my friends, and that's why that happened.
He was making threats to you and your friends about what?
Because we had gotten into an argument.
Well, what kind of threats was he making?
That he was gonna kick my butt and he was gonna do something to me and stuff like that.
You're absolutely right. She called because she was vindictive.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Absolutely right. You did the wrong thing, you were a gossip, whatever. But her phone call to CPS, and what she did was she either did it herself or she furnished the phone for this friend to do it for her.
It's like buying a hit assassin.
For her, was done vindictively. Because if it wasn't done vindictively, the timing was miraculously convenient for a time when the two of you had a fight. And that's pretty awful to have done. Awful.
But I didn't do it.
Listen,
I know that's your opinion.
You may explain to me that your girlfriend did it from your phone in your presence because you gave her the phone. What I'm saying to you is you were responsible for the call being placed to Child Protective Services, and you were responsible for doing it over nothing that had to do with the welfare of the child, only what had to do with the fact that you were angry with your brother. And that's terrible. Absolutely terrible. And you caused everybody a great deal of grief, and you're a big baby. Who are you?
It's my mother.
You're her mother? I'm telling you, what she did was disgusting. Now, if she had been concerned about the baby, and if she had made this phone call a month before, 2 months before, when there was nothing that was transpiring between her and her brother, I would say, listen, you have a right to do that if you have a concern. Put
But
your
there
hand
was-
down. But she called because she had a fight with them, and because her brother threatened to kick her, and because she said, and put your hand down, and because she said, oh yeah, I'm going to get even with you. What?
Well, I would just like to say that...
Stand up if you'd like to say something.
Even if their mutual friend made the phone call, the mutual friend was also angry with Christina. And evidently they had been drinking, whatever, talking, blah, blah, blah. And the girl who was angry with Christina...
Who was drinking?
My daughter...
I want you to be quiet. Who was drinking?
When my son and my daughter got into an argument, they had gotten onto this argument over the cell phone. Like, they've argued since, like...
I asked you a question.
Well, I'm
Who
gonna
had been
explain.
drinking?
Evidently, it was my daughter and a group of her friends.
That's right.
And the friend who has evidently some type of anger towards Christina used my daughter's cell phone to call.
That's baloney. Were you there?
No, I wasn't there,
Sit
but
down.
that's what I was told.
Sit down. By who? By her?
Yeah.
Sit down. Your daughter inspired this call because she had a fight with her brother. And the fact that they were drinking was even worse. You see, your daughter was going to say he was drinking, but that's not what you said. You said, put your hand down. You said my daughter was drinking with a group of her friends. Put your hand down. That's what you just said. You're absolutely right.
But
She's a
he was on bars.
vicious, vindictive, and what she did was cause a great deal of distress to you and your family for no reason whatsoever. And the only reason she did it is because she was angry and maybe a little loaded. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
After Diane called CPS and the baby got taken away, his mom calls and says, You need a DNA test. That's not your baby.
Christina, she's selfish, and she just wants to take my brother away from me.
It was a spiteful phone call.
You can't just, because of spite, put a burden on somebody like that.
Instead of calling, oh my God, your baby got taken away, I'm so sorry, it's get DNA test.
She wouldn't let him hang out and see us and party.
When you have kids, you have to grow up.
I want to move up in life, not stay around partying.
Time heals all wounds, maybe we'll be able to rekindle something.
It's over, I'm past, I've moved on, let it go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Robertson versus Young. Step forward.
23-year-old Stephanie Robertson is suing ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Derek Young, for a $500 loan. Derek claims that Stephanie is a cocaine dealer.
Miss Robertson, for some reason that, quite frankly, after seeing the two of you, I don't understand, this used to be your boyfriend.
Right.
And according to your complaint, you loaned him $500 to fix his car. He was supposed to pay you back, and he didn't. Then he took off for a while. And Mr. Young acknowledges that there was some $500 amount of money, but he says it was drug money.
That's not true.
He said you were selling drugs, and you were giving the drugs to him to sell because he was a drug addict. You were not addicted to drugs. That's your story. She was not a user. She was a seller. She was giving you the drugs to sell because you had that circle of friends because you were an addict.
Right.
And you were using the drugs yourself.
Correct.
And she should have known that you were using the drugs yourself because you're an addict.
Was an addict.
And you don't owe her any money.
I don't believe I owe her anything.
The money I lent to him was a birthday present from my dad.
That's your father?
Yeah.
You gave her money for her birthday?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
What?
That was actually not birthday money. It was her college fund money.
Oh, so you know about the $500?
Well, no, she bought the drugs with the college fund money, and then she was trying to get me to sell the drugs for her.
Okay, so her dad gave her $500 from her college fund, and she bought drugs with that money.
The money was from the state.
The money was from?
The state.
State from where?
Of Michigan.
For what?
Michigan assessment test. They give you $500 for college if you pass it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
or if
great.
you get high scores.
Did you get that money from the state of Michigan? It's easy enough to find out.
The money was from my dad.
Did you get $500 from the state of Michigan for taking a test?
I got a scholarship from the state of Michigan.
For how much?
It was like $1,500.
Did you get it in cash?
No, it was a scholarship.
Okay, fine. So tell me about this $500.
He wanted to borrow $500 from me to fix his car. His transmission went out or something.
Well, tell me how it happened. Tell me what he said to you, what you said to him.
He told me his transmission was out or something. He needed to fix his car. At the time, we were still getting along. We wanted to go on like a road trip. Do
you want to be someplace else other than here?
No.
Well, then, do you think that you could tell me this story in a cogent manner so that I can understand it and we can move on to some more pressing business? My father gave me birthday money on what date?
I don't remember the exact date. It was probably...
Well, when's your birthday? Do you know that?
May 20th.
And when did you give the money to him?
I think it was in July. He signed a promissory note, July 20th, 2006.
You have a note?
Yeah.
Let me see it. Yes, it would be the answer, Miss Robertson.
Yes, sorry.
Did you use that scholarship money to go to college?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Stay in school. Now, Mr. Young, I have a note here, signed by you, that says, I, Derek Young, declare, D-E-C-L-A-I-R, that I owe Stephanie $500 with the dollar sign in the wrong place.
At that time...
Huh? What?
I was actually under heavy drug use.
So whose fault is that? Mine?
No.
Whose fault is that?
It's mine.
Good.
And I'm clean.
Pay her the money.
But there was never any money to begin with. It was all cocaine.
It's possible. How do I know that? It says that you owe her the money.
I was under heavy drug use. I don't...
Shh. Come on. Come on. Stop it. I'm going to say it one more time. Then you're all leaving. Do you understand?
I believe that I was in the right state of mind. Like, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Happens to me a lot, sir, that I sometimes feel as if I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I mean...
Like right now. Like this moment, I say to myself, you spent 2 decades preparing yourself educationally to be a judge. another 30 perhaps, life skills and everything else. And here I am adjudicating this nonsense with somebody who's telling me I don't know what I was doing when I signed that note because I was probably on drugs.
No, I was definitely on drugs.
How do you know?
Because...
On what date did you sign the note?
I don't know.
See, so how do you know that you were on drugs on the day you signed the note?
I was a heroin addict.
What?
I was a heroin addict and a coke user.
So maybe at that time when you were a heroin addict and a coke user, you said to her, I need $500 to fix my car. If you don't know what you were doing.
I didn't have a car.
You didn't have a car?
No.
You never had a car?
I sold my car before any of this happened.
Well, on what date did you sell your car?
Oh, I don't know.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Do me a favor. Get them out of here as quickly as possible.
This is case number 383 on the calendar in the matter of Stockwell versus Fithian. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Mr. Stockwell, it is your claim that the defendant, who was your girlfriend, owes you money that you loaned her for the down payment on a car.
Correct.
And this is the scenario that you allege. Don't fidget. Don't worry. I haven't even started on you yet. The two of you went looking for a car. She needed a car. She had a car that was hers, as far as you knew, that she was going to trade in and use as a down payment. She found a car that she liked. Hands out of your pocket.
Correct.
And the dealer was going to give her $2,000 as a trade-in for her car. You said to her, that's a ripoff. Your car's worth $4,000, right?
Correct.
So it is your claim that you said to her, listen, I'll give you the $4,000. Don't trade in your car. You go sell your car privately, you'll get a lot more for it, and when you sell your car, you'll give me back the money. That's your story.
Correct.
And you're sticking to it.
Correct.
Miss Fithian bought the car. She accepted your $4,000. And then she had one excuse after another for not selling the car that she had been driving. You subsequently found out, sir, that the car wasn't sold because it wasn't
hers.
Hers. That it belonged to her
parents.
And she couldn't sell it.
Correct. Correct.
Because it didn't belong to
her.
In addition, you say that as some demonstration of this debt, she gave you a check for $200 at some point, and the check bounced.
Actually, the $200 was cash that was given to me.
Cash?
She gave me a check for the balance, and that check actually bounced.
Do you have that check?
No, but I do have the statement of the account that it was deposited into and then it being withdrawn afterwards. I don't have a copy of the voided check.
Why?
We were still together at the time, so I assumed it wasn't an issue at that time.
You were still together?
Well, no, that was kind of the final straw, but...
But you were together?
Correct, yes.
And when she gave you the bounced check, you were together?
Correct.
Well, what did you say to her when she gave you the bounced check?
What the...
And what'd she say to you?
She came up with multiple excuses. She had said that the money was given to her by her grandmother, and her grandmother got sick, so she needed the money back. And long story short, that's pretty much it.
Okay. So now I got his story. Let's have yours.
Okay. I was looking to purchase a new vehicle. I'd given my parents' car back to them. It was going to be my brother's. My brother had just got his permit, and they had no other vehicle, so they asked for my Honda back. So I gave them back the Honda, and I was looking for a new car. Well, I was a first-time buyer, and I couldn't get anybody to co-sign. My parents wouldn't co-sign. They thought it was too big of a responsibility. Nobody would.
What kind of work were you doing?
I wasn't working at the time. I just got laid off.
Well, that was a good reason for nobody co-signing for a car for you.
Yes, agreeably.
Who were you living with?
I was living with Ron, and I was told that...
Just a minute, so you were living with Ron?
Mm-hmm.
And your parents took the car back?
Correct.
Did you know that, Ron?
She's lying. The car was hers.
Of course she's lying.
The car was hers. She didn't give the car back to her parents until after the new vehicle was purchased.
Of course. Nobody gives up a car.
Well, I had to give up the car. The car was not in my name.
I understand that, but you didn't give it back to them until after you got your little tuchus in the new car. That's what I'm saying to you, madam. You get it? You know, little tuchus? That's your little behind. Till you put your behind in the new car, you didn't give your brother back the old car.
No, I had to give the brother back my old car. That would be grand theft auto if I would have kept the car.
Miss Fithian, listen carefully to what I just said to you. I said you didn't give one car back until you got your behind in the new car.
That's incorrect.
Yeah. On what date did you buy the new car?
It was November 26th, 2000.
And on what date did you give the car back to your parents for your brother?
It was sometime in August.
Just a second. November 26th, 2006, you bought the new car?
I believe it was, so.
That's right about right. I have the exact
And you
date.
gave back the car to your parents in August of 06, 3 months before?
Correct, yes.
3 months?
Correct.
Is that right, Mr. Stockwell?
No, the car was actually purchased on November 19th, and I would have to say she gave the car back to her parents somewhere around late January, early February.
Of 07?
Correct.
2 months later?
I would say probably a month to 2 months after she had had the new car. In the beginning, we had the new car, and the old car had sat in the street for a while, just sitting there because I had intentions of selling the vehicle, obviously.
What's her father's name? What's your father's name?
Paul, and when I was with him for over a year, he should know that.
Paul what?
Paul Ignacio.
And the car is in his name?
Correct.
Give me his telephone number.
2243.
And your brother's name?
My brother's name is Sean.
His number?
It's 8605.
And what kind of car was this, by the way?
The one that was purchased?
A 1998 Honda Civic.
Great. Why don't you have a seat? Is this Sean? Sean, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you this afternoon? Good. I need your help with regard to some dates. Your sister is here, and I'm trying a case involving the 1998 Honda Civic. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. Can you tell me when you took possession of that car? All right, we're back together again, Sean. When did you take possession of the car? Okay, and where had the car been before August of '07? Who was driving it? For how long before you got the car? So you haven't driven the car. Thank you. Goodbye, Sean. Goodbye. Well, Miss Fiffian, there is no question that your parents did not need this car back immediately for your brother. He doesn't even drive this car much, he said, because it's a stick shift. Maybe he took possession of the car in August of '07, maybe, but he doesn't drive it much. Your parents sometimes use it when they need gas money. I don't know what he was talking about. But that story that you just gave me, that they needed it back for your brother, it was a whole lot of who shot John.
Excuse me, Your Honor, but it was not a story, second of all.
It was a big story, unless you're telling me that your brother's a liar.
Excuse me, but my brother is only 16 years old. He is not even credible for this.
No, you're not credible. Your brother, who didn't know how to lie, was a little bit credible, even though he was trying to cover his tracks. He even disconnected me once on his cell phone. But I have children and grandchildren. I know all about the disconnecting, I can't hear you routine. So, the story that you just gave me was a lot of baloney. Now, who was supporting her when you were together?
That would be me, Your Honor.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Stockwell?
Self-employed. I do metal distribution.
Do you make a living?
An okay one, yes.
And what about her?
What do you mean, what about her?
Does she work?
At the time, actually, when we purchased the vehicle, she worked.
What was she working at?
I don't know, selling motorcycle accessories. She had led me to believe that she was doing really well and she would be being promoted and everything was great, so she needed this.
Did she give you any money towards the expenses of running your home?
In the very beginning, there had been times that she had given me a couple hundred here and there, but I'm not really worried about that. I'm obviously more
I'm just
worried.
asking you, I'm just trying to explain to you, sir, how very, very fortunate you are. Lesson maybe cost you a couple of bucks, but look what a good lesson you learned early on, right? And look how you didn't get hooked. You didn't have a kid with her or anything, did you?
No, I didn't.
Perfect. So, who's got the car now?
Toyota.
Toyota?
Correct.
How did Toyota get the car?
It was repossessed.
Why?
Because I wasn't working at the time. He had me staying home taking care of his 2 kids from 2 different mothers and cleaning his house, cooking him dinner. So I wasn't working and I couldn't make the $575 payments a month.
You have custody of your children?
Every other weekend.
You have every other weekend with your children?
Yeah.
So
occasionally.
There'd be times where I would have to go pick them up for things. And when I would watch them and pick them up, he'd be at the bar drinking shows to his felony DUI with bodily injury for $40,000 that he has.
Why didn't you have a job?
He told me not to work. He had me not
way
working.
did he tell you not to work.
He makes a lot of money at what he does. Shows for all my Coach bags he bought me, all of my snowboarding equipment, my snowboard that he bought me, all my snowboarding trips. This isn't just the only thing. He bought me tons of things. Tons of things. He had me not working to take care of his eyeglasses appointment, all of his appointments and everything. I was like his personal secretary. This wasn't like a normal, oh, I'm staying home and get to go to get my nails done every single, no. And I would have to go to the mall and buy new clothes because I wasn't presentable enough for him in front of his family. I'd have to take pictures of me in the mirror and send it to him to make sure that that was appropriate.
She's lying.
No, I am not. This was not your normal relationship.
No, she's a dingbat. But she was your dingbat. You picked the dingbat. And you indulged the dingbat, Mr. Stockwell. You indulged the dingbat. When did you purchase this car?
November 19th.
November 19th, 2006?
Correct.
And how long did you live together after you had the car?
Approximately 3 months. I
How
would think
long?
maybe a little bit longer.
Let's see. About 5 months.
5 months.
Could have been 5 months?
Could have been, yeah.
You didn't get your $4,000 back month one?
No,
month
I didn't.
two?
I didn't really start to get concerned
Month
about
two?
it till month 3.
Month three? Yeah.
Month three is when I started to get concerned, and
And what happened in month 3? You still slept together?
oh yeah.
You weren't that concerned, right? weren't that stressed? That
I was
it
under the
interfered with your
I was under the
performance?
impression that I was still going to be getting the vehicle. Her parents had the vehicle, but I was still
Get
being
down on
told.
the floor, sir. Kiss the ground. It's there. Say, listen, I already made 2 mistakes, right? You have 2 children from 2 different women, and how old are you? 26, 27?
27.
27? That would count in the category of mistakes. This might have been a 3rd one. Not clever, but you don't get your money back. Goodbye, Mr. Stockwell. That's all.
Others are excused. You may step out.
Obviously, once I found out she was a liar and everything that she had been saying was bull,
I left and I got my own place,
then I decided to move on.
and I'm doing just fine now.
And now the next case.
All parties in the
9-year-old Jacob Darling for crashing his motorcycle during a test drive. Jacob claims the accident was due to the motorcycle's faulty brakes.
Mr. Bauer, would you tell me something about yourself, sir? Your age, what you do for a living, schooling?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Jordan Bile. I'm a laboratory technician for Sherwin-Williams. I'm 24 years old. I attended Pensacola Christian College for 2.5 years. I've been working at Sherwin-Williams for 3 years as a laboratory tech.
So you sound like an intelligent young man.
Yes, ma'am. I like to think so.
It's a relatively simple case. You were selling a motorcycle. Had a for sale sign on it.
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
The defendant and his girlfriend
Yes.
came over and said, gee, you may be interested in buying it. I'd like to take it on a test drive. So far, right?
No, he actually offered the test drive.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
And tell me something about yourself, Mr. Darling.
My name's Jacob Darling. I'm 19 years old. I work full-time at Tom's Crane Service doing landscaping and maintenance. I also go to Akron University full-time majoring in engineering right now.
So you're a smart guy.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to think
So he offered you a test drive.
Mm-hmm.
Offered you.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said fine.
Mm-hmm.
And he took the bike out for a test drive, and he crashed it.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you want him to pay to repair it. Mr. Darling has a counterclaim because Mr. Darling says that after he crashed the motorcycle and came back with it, you said to him, oh, it was the brakes. I've had trouble with those too. Did you ever say that to him?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Now, the reason that I asked the 2 of you for your background is because that would be one of the dumbest things that anybody could say. Oh, you crashed the motorcycle? It was my fault because the brakes were bad. I've had problems with the brakes myself. And I wanted to know what kind of moron he was, Mr. Darling, because he would have to be a big moron if I believed your answer, right?
Yes.
He would have to be a super big moron to say, oh, you hurt yourself, you're out of work, you ruined my motorcycle, and it's my fault because I let you drive a motorcycle with bad brakes.
If I could explain the
Just a
circumstances.
second.
Okay.
Do you understand where we're going, Mr. Darling?
Yes.
Good. Now you can explain the circumstances.
Okay, I test drove this motorcycle, and I was going below the posted speed limit of 25. I entered the turn. It was the final turn before I was back to his house. I noticed that there was gravel in the turn, which on a motorcycle you cannot go through a turn in gravel or you will slide out. So I had to stop before the turn so I could slowly proceed through it. Without the use of the back brakes, after pressing on the pedal and getting nothing from them, I wasn't able to slow down in time to make the turn, so I had to go straight into the ditch. On the way back, Mr. Bile was pushing the bike back, and me and my friend Allison were walking slightly behind. And I mentioned...
My friend Allison and I.
Yeah, my girlfriend Allison. I don't know. But anyway, we were walking back, and I mentioned to her, she was like, what happened? What happened? And I said, the brakes didn't work. The rear brakes, I pressed the pedal, and they just did not work. So when she said, you must tell him that, you have to tell him that. Once we got back to his house, I then proceeded to explain the rear brake difficulty that I had, and he was like, oh yes, I did forget to mention that I have had problems with the brakes.
In a million years, I don't believe you.
No, ma'am.
My witness...
I don't care. Your witness could stand there on a stack of Bibles, and I wouldn't believe her either. Were you bleeding?
Yes.
So you were injured.
Yes.
Visible. He could see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he could see that his bicycle was ruined.
Mm-hmm.
And right there and then, he accepted responsibility for your injuries and the bicycle being crashed by saying, I had problems with the brakes.
I don't think it was something he meant to say, but once he was surprised by me saying that and did answer that the brakes did have difficulties. And I made a police report the day after the incident because I was in the hospital the night of. The police officer then looked over it and agreed that I wasn't responsible because there was really nothing I could do. So he gave me...
show me the police officer wrote that. Let me see what the police officer wrote, Mr. Darling, that there was nothing you could do, that you weren't responsible. I'd like to see that in his report.
I don't have anything from that. He did...
Then I can't hear that, Mr. Darling, because if you don't have it, it doesn't exist.
Okay. He did speak to, or he came and spoke on my behalf in court, which I got out of the points of the ticket.
Did you get a ticket?
I did get a ticket.
For what?
For failure to control, because he said ultimately I was on a motorcycle.
Don't tell me what he said. That's hearsay. You were convicted, correct?
I was cleared of the conviction after going to court.
You have a dismissal of that ticket with you.
I don't actually have the dismissal of the ticket, but I didn't receive any points on my license for the ticket.
I don't care whether you received points or not.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Bile, did you have any knowledge that there was damage to the brakes on this bike?
No, ma'am.
When was the time, immediately preceding the time Mr. Darling test drove the bike, that you rode the bike?
I think I rode it for the last time in November. The previous year, 2006.
How long had you had the bike?
I had it for 7 months.
So it was a brand new bike?
Brand new. Bought it from the dealer.
How much did you pay for the bike, sir?
$1,475.
And how much were you selling it to Mr. Darling?
I was selling it for $1,300 or best offer.
Well, that's what you're going to pay for it, Mr. Darling, because to fix it is going to cost $1,852.23.
I do have more evidence here that...
Yeah, go ahead. Let me hear.
He sent me a letter saying he was disappointed he hasn't heard from me about the bike to get a repayment. And in this letter, there's a list of what's wrong with the motorcycle, and the rear brake assembly is included in this list, which is the problem that I had with it, was with the rear brakes.
What else is in there?
He includes a very extensive release form that would discharge him, his family, and any representatives from any claims, demands, losses, or anything that I experienced.
Absolutely.
Meaning he must have felt that
Don't tell me what he felt.
Okay.
It's a brand new bike, 7 months old.
It was a very cheaply made bike, to say the least.
Then you shouldn't have taken it out, sir.
I know I shouldn't have.
And you shouldn't have taken it out. You did take it out, and you ruined it. You're going to pay for it. It's yours. You bought it. $1,300. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
It's case number 458 on the calendar, the matter of Strayer versus Davis. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Strayer, this lawsuit alleges that the two of you, who would live together, decided to separate at some point. But before you separated, you claim a loan that you made to Mr. Davis to pay off some court fines. You took out a loan. It had a healthy interest on it. And while Mr. Davis did, in fact, pay some of that loan, you claim he still owes some of the loan. You also claim that he owes you for some rent.
Yes, ma'am.
And for wrecking a car that you let him borrow.
Yes.
Mr. Davis says that you gave him the car. He did wreck the car, but you had given it to him, so if he wrecked it, that's his problem. That he paid rent while he lived with you, and that as far as the loan was concerned, he told you not to take out that loan because it had such a high interest rate. You went ahead and took it out anyway. You gave him only some of the money. The rest you used to pay off your bills, and he's paid back everything that he took, plus a reasonable rate of interest on the loan.
I don't agree with any of what he has said.
Let's deal with the simple things first.
Okay.
When did you have this car accident, sir?
I think it was in September of last year, 07.
Were you still living together at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she give you the car?
We were actually together at the time. Her and her mother had went ahead and purchased me a car as a gift because, at the time I just got my driver's license and, they were nice enough to give me a car.
And whose name was the car?
The car was in Stephanie's name.
Then it's not a gift.
Well, but it was a gift, but the thing was we were still together. We were going to do the insurance in her name. It would have been cheaper. And so then we broke up, and then we never had the title switched over at the time because the car was wrecked. at that point.
Somebody makes you a gift. They give you a gift and they give you a gift. They give you the car, they give you the title, they give you the everything.
I call it a gift because I was never asked to pay anything back. Then I didn't even know that the price of the car or anything. That was never brought up. It wasn't an issue.
Just a second. At the time the car was wrecked, you were living together.
Yes, ma'am.
So she wouldn't necessarily ask you for the car back. It's her car in her name. You were driving it.
She gave me the car, Your Honor.
Well, tell me exactly what she said to you when she gave you the car.
She said, I mean, basically, I got you a car, baby. Here's a present. She, in those, pretty much in those same words. It was,
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Strayer.
Present was never used. Gift was never used. I bought the car and as a favor let him use the car to get to and from work. It was after a little while agreed that the car would just end up his, but I have the paperwork here from when I bought the car. The original amount that I paid on the car was $297, which he paid me for, and then after that I still had to pay $850 for the car.
How much was the total price for the car?
The total price, $1,147.
And he paid $297?
He paid $297. And then
Does that sound familiar?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you sound foolish?
No, I don't. Your Honor, she never discussed a price at all. Then she came to me and said that the dealer, that the only thing they owed was $300. They didn't say anything about $1,100. They didn't say anything about $1,500. They said it was $300, and that's what I gave her. I gave her $300 because there was a processing fee and all that stuff. It was through her mother, through her cleaners. It was a trade agreement with some dealership. That's all I know about it, and that's all she asked for was $300. And
What month was the car
I stick to my story.
purchased?
It was a gift.
In August 2007.
When was it totaled?
September 26, 2007.
How much did you pay on the car?
The $1,147.
Just a second. Did you pay $850 for the car?
Yes, we did.
You personally, he paid $297. Did you pay $850?
Yes, I did.
And within 3 weeks, the car was totaled?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so he owes you $850. Now, let's talk about the next to the easiest part, and that's the rent. While you were living together, I understand from reading your papers that he paid his half of the rent, and then you separated and put him out. He was going to go stay with his
sister.
That didn't work out. So according to you, he asked if he could come back and save some money so that he could get his own place, and you said yes. So far, is that right?
Almost.
Almost is close enough for me. And then he came back, and he stayed with you for a while, and it's that period of time that you're suing him for, right? Forget it. If you told him he could come back so he could save money, how is he going to save money if he's paying you rent? So to me, the concept was he would come back, he would sort of hang with you for a month or so, save up enough money for first and last or whatever it was, and then go on his way.
Yes, and I agree with that.
Fine, great.
Okay.
Perfect. So far he owes you $850. Now let's hear about the loan. How much did he need to pay off his court fines?
$1,300, Your Honor.
Fines for what?
For a past traffic violation.
Traffic, moving violations.
Yes, ma'am.
What else?
For a misdemeanor in another city.
Misdemeanor what?
Assault.
What else?
It was also disturbing the peace.
What else?
And honestly, I'm not sure about the rest. It was actually four different cases, 4 different dates.
How many times have you had court fines?
None.
Really? No assaults, no disturbing the peace, no traffic violations, no nothing?
Ma'am. None.
That urge to nest is very strong. You've got to raise your sights a little bit. Do you understand?
Got that now.
Okay. So you took out a loan with a very high interest rate. How much did you take out?
$2,500.
What'd you do with the rest of the money? He only needed $1,300.
The original amount that we thought we needed was about $1,500, but that was not including the interest that had accrued from the time we pulled the records until I went to actually pay them once I got the loan. So it ended up being more. Then on top of those fines, we also paid for his lawyer for the court date.
Is that
Which
right?
I paid for. I paid the lawyer, Your Honor.
I have it on
Just a
here.
second.
I have the
For
check
what?
stub.
What did you pay the lawyer with?
With my hard-earned money.
Show me a bank statement. You paid him by check, I'm sure.
No, it was cash.
No, you don't pay a lawyer by cash. Not if you're working. Are you working off the books?
No, ma'am.
So you work on the books. So you get a salary. They take out taxes. If you pay a lawyer, you pay the lawyer by check.
Right.
Right.
And she was with me when I paid it cash.
I have the receipt right here made out to the lawyer
Can I see
for
it,
the
please?
full $250 amount that we had to pay him.
It was more than $250, Your Honor.
Well, then maybe she only paid part of it. What's your lawyer's name?
Olson.
That's it. Maybe his fee was more than $250.
I know it was.
So she only paid $250. You may have paid the
Which
rest.
I gave her the money for it, Your Honor.
Oh, well, that's not what you told me. You just
Right,
told
she
me
may have the
used
receipts.
just a second. Listen to me, sir. That's not what you just told me. You just told me she was right there when I paid the lawyer in cash. Right. Now you're telling me that she paid part of the lawyer, but you gave her money in cash.
When we went to court, she was there when I paid it. It was a payment. We had to pay half up front and then the final remainder when we went to court. The half up front was, we were still living together, whatever. I always gave her money. She just took care of everything. And that's why she has all the receipts and has her paperwork together.
You paid him half. She paid him the other half.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your excuse, Mr. Davis, is, I told her not to take it out, and despite my advice, she took it out anyway. That's what you wrote here. That's what you wrote here.
And later today.
What you do when you have hardships is you say, I will faithfully send you $50 a month. You don't blow him off. That's unreasonable, because then he gets irritated.
But he doesn't listen.
Rent, court fines, and for totaling her car. Chris is countersuing for the return of his property and moving costs.
How much were the fines altogether? The fines without the lawyer?
I don't have the receipts because he has them. I don't have the exact amount. I know it was closer to $2,000 with the interest.
Do you have the receipts?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Why not?
I misplaced them, and it was not $2,000. The fines totaled up like $1,300-something, $1,400, and the remainder of the thing.
A moment ago, you told me $1,300.
It was like $13-something. The exact amount, ma'am, I'm not quite sure of. All I know is we had discussed the remainder of the loan, the excess money. We had agreed that we were going to pay back the lender to reduce the interest on the loan. Then instead, that never even happened.
Just a second. Let's say between your lawyer and your loans, it was $2,000.
The loan had nothing to do with the lawyer, Your Honor. The loan went toward the fines. There's a remainder of the loan that had nothing to do with the lawyer.
How much?
It was like $1,200 still left over, and that went toward bills.
That's very hard because you just told me that your fines were close to $1,400.
I don't know the exact amount. I know it was 13-something.
How much does he owe you on the loan?
$2,678.51.
And what was the interest rate on this loan?
99%.
That's ridiculous.
It is.
You understand that?
Yes.
It's a ridiculous amount of money, but he used the money. And your excuse, Mr. Davis, is, I told her not to take it out, and despite my advice, she took it out anyway.
That is not...
That's what you wrote here. That's what you wrote here.
That is not entirely true. I knew that she was going to be taking out a loan. I didn't know the interest rate on it until afterwards, and she said that, that she really had no choice, that she was up against the wall on the situation.
And you just should have said, I'm not taking the money from you. Go return it immediately so that you don't have any interest.
Right.
If you didn't want to take it. You chose to take it. You got to pay for it.
I did pay for it, Your Honor.
No, you didn't pay the whole thing.
Since the loan was taken out, I paid her every month for that loan, up until the point of about October.
Let me see the balance on the loan, please.
There's the
Did you ever take out a loan before?
Here's how much it was.
Did you ever take out a loan before?
Not this type of loan, no.
Any kind of loan?
I've taken a car loan.
Car loan,
yeah.
But this kind of loan?
No, yeah. That was the loan that I got to pay the... I ended up having to take a new loan out to pay that one off because I did not want to pay that ridiculous interest rate for the next 3 years. So the amount he would have ended up paying, if you see on there, is $9,700 and something. But because I actually paid it off with a loan from my parents, which they're even charging me an interest rate, but nothing like 99%, he's actually getting out about $7,000 off of it that he would have ended up having to pay.
Which I'm not responsible for the interest, Your Honor.
Yes,
I'm not.
you are.
I didn't ask her to take out 100% interest.
Then you shouldn't have taken the money. You should have returned it to her.
Well,
You should have returned it to her.
You're right. I should have.
Well, you didn't.
But I paid the
She's not going to be behind the 8 ball for your traffic, assault, disturbing the peace, and whatever else you don't remember. That's not her problem.
I know it's
so
not her problem.
So far, you owe her $3,528. Now, you have a counterclaim. The rent you're forgetting about, because so am I. The rent you let him move in because you felt sorry for him. Now, you have a counterclaim. Mr. Davis, I have 1 minute to hear your ridiculous counterclaim. You want a barbecue grill that you left there?
My grill was left there, but that's not the main issue. When we first broke up, she said I could live with her for a while. I knew it wasn't going to work out, so I moved with my sister for a little while. It wasn't to move there at all. I came back within a very short period of time, moved back in with her. She said I could stay with her until Christmas, until her cousin moved in. We had a couple fights, a couple altercations where, I wasn't really welcome there anymore. And I knew that I had to leave anyway, but I didn't have enough money to get my own place. So she said, Chris, I'll give you 30 days to get your own place. And I said, thank you. And then within a week later, she told me I had to get out.
What happened?
Just altercations, fights. We just
well,
couldn't get
then
along.
That's a very smart thing that you got out, sir, because with the disturbing the peace and assault and other things on your record, it would not have been a good idea for you to stay there if you were having altercations, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,528. Your counterclaim is dismissed because what you want is all the aggravation and the moving expenses that you had moving within that 30-day period. That was a very good idea. She did you a favor. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You know, I had nothing to prove. I had no paperwork, you know.
He got what he deserved.
She had her ducks lined in a row. I lost, so.
And I'll definitely never let that happen again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hall versus Hall. Step forward, please.
Ronnie Hall is suing his former daughter-in-law, Sylvia Hall, for the unpaid balance on a PT Cruiser. Ronnie says that Sylvia totaled the vehicle and pocketed the insurance money.
Mr. Hall, this young lady is your former daughter-in-law.
Yes, ma'am.
She was married to your son, and I think they have a child. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you sold her the car because she needed transportation. She was living away from you. She was living away from your son, and she needed some help.
Yes, ma'am.
She was supposed to sell her old car, which was not reliable, and give you the money from that sale, and then start to make payments on the car when she could.
Yes,
you
ma'am.
had agreed on a price, which was, I believe, $6,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Which was well below the book value of the car.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You turned the car over to her when, sir?
June of '06.
And you had the car for how long?
I had it for about a month.
And then you totaled it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you got an insurance payment for it?
I did.
How much?
A little over $6,000.
What do you mean a little over? Give me the amount that you got.
I have a check here, less the deductible. So it was $5,942.82.
And you sold your old car?
I did.
And how much did you get for that?
It was roughly around $1,000.
Okay. So we acknowledge that you purchased the car. We acknowledge that he drove the car, turned it over to you, turned over all the paperwork, signed it over to you, even though you hadn't paid him a penny, relying on you to make payments, the first one being when you sold your old car. When did you sell your old car?
It was around July.
Was it before or after you totaled the car?
It was before.
Why didn't you send him the $1,000? That's what you had promised.
Well, the person that I sold the car to was a younger kid, and he was making payments on it. So I didn't get a substantial check. And I was behind on a lot of my bills. I separated from my husband in 2005, had to start all over, and I was severely behind. I was in an apartment that I couldn't afford. I couldn't afford to send Ronnie the money.
Does that mean that you just don't owe the money?
No, I know. I know I should have sent him money, but I just didn't have it at the time to give it to him.
Did you call him and tell him that?
I did. Anytime he called me, I would tell him what was going on in my life, and then I would tell him maybe if I can get things back in order, you know, maybe by July I'll have some money for you. And then things just kept happening. I lost my job. I got sick. I just got diagnosed with lupus. I've had all kinds of medical expenses to take care of. You know, single mom of a child. I was totally honest with him about everything.
But the problem is you got a check for $6,000.
Right. I had to buy another car.
Well, what happened when you totaled the car and got this check for $6,000? Did you call him and tell him?
He asked me how much I got for the car. I told him. I said, I'm shopping for another vehicle, one that's cheaper. And if I can get some money to you, I would. But we never agreed on a payment plan. He just said, worry about it whenever we worry about it. He said, worry later.
Well, that's not forgiving the loan. You said he forgave the loan.
Well, he said to use the money for the car and said that we'll worry about it later.
Fine. So he was letting you get caught up. So when did you start to make payments?
I made one payment whenever I could, and that was the $200.
When was that?
That was the beginning of this year sometime, like in March.
I mean, are you telling me that you couldn't send him $20 a month?
He wouldn't accept it. I tell him that my mom, he had a conversation with my mother and said that I can send him $50 a month. He didn't want that. He said that's not enough. I can't afford anything else.
That conversation just happened. She called me the day she received the papers and said, you need to call my mother immediately. I wrote the number down. I called her mother. And the reason I wrote the number down and called her mother was several times during the time that I was trying to get payments on this vehicle, she said she was going to try to get a loan from her mother. So it was under my assumption that when she said, take this number and call my mom, that her mother was going to pay me the money. And that's why I immediately wrote the number down and called her mother. All her mother said to me for 45 minutes was that I needed to forgive this loan. That was the entire conversation.
Didn't say anything to you about paying $50 a month?
No.
If she had said to you, I will faithfully pay you $50 a month, what would you have said?
Great.
He called me several times at work over the process of this past year, and I would be at work. I couldn't speak to him about the issues because I was at work. I had clients in front of me. I'd say, Ronnie, I can't pay you right now. I have this and this going on. I will pay you as soon as I can.
Yeah, but he wanted a time. Miss Hall, you know, you're very sympathetic, but you also have to understand you made an agreement with him.
I understand.
And he's not a party to your problems. You have the father of your child who may be a party to your problems. You have a mother who may be a party to your problems. But he made a business arrangement with you, and he was very flexible with you. And I don't see any good faith basis to alter the agreement that you had, which was that you would pay him $1,000 when you sold the car, your old car, which you didn't do. You didn't even send him the payments that the young man was making to you when you sold him the car, which you should have, because you used that money for other things. And then when you got this windfall from the insurance company for a car that you never paid for, you spent the money. You bought another car and then you spent the rest.
I didn't just spend it frivolously. I have a daughter to take care of. I have medical bills. I'm just saying I've had hardships that I couldn't pay him the money.
I understand that. What you do when you have hardships is you say, I can send you and will faithfully send you $50 a month. I know it should be more, but I will faithfully send you $50 a month. You don't blow him off. That's unreasonable because then he gets irritated.
But he doesn't listen. That's the thing. It's like he'd call me at work. I'd tell him whenever I would be able to.
No, you told him I couldn't talk to him at work because I had clients in front of me.
I know. Well, I would tell him that. I'd say, I'm going to try and send you some money.
Did you call him back?
Time.
Listen, did you say to him, Miss Hall, I can't talk to you right now, Ronnie. I'll call you lunchtime. I'll call you at home in the evening.
I didn't.
You did not.
I did not.
You did not, because you were just as happy to get him off your back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, which is all that I can award you here, sir. Thank you.
Yes, case number 474 on the calendar in the matter of Cyrus versus Riddick.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Cyrus, he used to be your boyfriend. He's not your boyfriend anymore. No. He's a boyfriend with whom you made a baby.
Yes.
And you claim, in addition to being an ex-boyfriend, he also is a debtor, that he owes you for 2 loans.
Yes.
Mr. Riddick says he doesn't owe you for anything.
Mm-hmm.
How old's your baby?
She will be 4 in May.
Did you and Mr. Riddick ever live together?
Yes, we did.
From when to when?
Probably from the beginning of 2002 until he went to college in 2004.
Okay, tell me about the first loan.
The first loan, he went away to college after we had our child, and about 9 months later, around April, he contacted me about coming back home. He didn't want to purchase a plane ticket. He found a car out there that he liked. And I let him know, like, why don't you just come back first and maybe we can look for a car for you out here and do it better out here. What if the car breaks down on your way back? He said, no, it's a car he really likes and he wants to fix it up. And plus, it will be cheaper and he can help me with the baby by picking her up from daycare and so on and so on. If we had 2 vehicles, it would be better.
Were you working at the time?
Yes.
Were you living independently?
I was living with my mother at the time.
So, go ahead.
I explained to him the interest rate on it because I don't have that kind of cash. The interest rate on the card that I can put it on is like 19%, which is a ridiculous interest rate to even pay that much money on. And I was like, and I still want to buy a house within a couple years. You know, if I do let you borrow it, it needs to be paid off. Yeah. So I finally let him borrow the money.
How much?
$3,600.
And you took that off credit card?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he make the payments?
When he came back, he made a couple payments, random payments between September 2005 and July of 2006.
How many payments did he make?
He only made a total of 5.
And in what amount?
One was an amount $75, $30, $142, $117, and $40. A total of $404.
That's odd numbers. Why?
I took what I could at the time.
What do you mean you took what you could?
Well, because he doesn't keep a job that long, so whenever he was working and not going to school, he would give me money. So when he
Were you living together?
No, when he came back from college, we were not living together. He had another girlfriend. We've been not together. We've been back and forth. But
when he came back, he had another girlfriend, and you had given him money for a car?
I gave him money before he came back from college.
And after he came back, he found a new girlfriend?
About a few months later, yes, he did. Well, he was talking to her. I found out now while he was away at college. So.
Is that right, sir?
No, ma'am.
You didn't have a new girlfriend after you came home?
No, ma'am. It took a while afterwards.
How long afterwards?
It was about 6 months till when we came to the realization.
Fine. So 6 months later, you now had a new girlfriend, and you had a car that she had paid for.
The car was stolen.
I don't care if it was stolen. What difference does it make if it was stolen or not?
Doesn't make a difference.
Who do you think's going to pay for the car?
It was a mutual agreement we had for our family.
You had no family.
At the time we were trying to work out our relationship.
That doesn't mean you have a family.
Hell not.
It's not a family. You're living in your house, she's living in her house, you just happen to have a baby. That's not a family.
Okay.
That's not even old-fashioned, but that's not a family. It's only a family if it's convenient for your mind, it's a family. Now, you're driving this car. Did you have insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't your insurance pay for the car?
Because the insurance paid $325 for the car.
Yes, and?
Yes, and
What did you do with the $325?
I put it towards a down payment to get another car. As the story was told, when I was in school, it would have cost more money to ship all my things back from school.
Who cares?
To home.
Who cares? To whose home did you ship your things? To whose home did you ship
When
your
I first
things?
got back,
No,
I
no.
was at Amber's home.
Listen to my statement very carefully, Mr. Riddick. When you were going to ship the things, where were you shipping them to?
You misunderstood what I said.
No.
It would have cost more money for me to
I
catch a
understand
plane,
exactly what
to
you're
catch a plane and ship my things back home.
Where were you going? To whose home were you going to ship the
Amber
things?
May Cyrus's home.
With her mother?
No. That's where I stayed at before.
Did you come back there after you purchased this car and stay there with her when you came back?
When I first came back, yes.
For
Afterwards,
how,
I
just,
left.
just a second. For how long did you stay in her mother's house, sir, when you first came back?
About a week.
All right. And then where did you go?
To my mother's house.
That's better. Now, and when you went back to your mother's house, did you take all your stuff with you?
Majority of it, yes.
Yeah. What's the payoff on the car?
The payoff on the card, I don't have today's payoff. Because due to him not paying child support and stuff, I had to charge my own charges on this card. I only added up the interest that would have accrued for his purchase, because I did use the card.
How do you expect me to figure that out?
I just times the interest by the 2 years that it's been that he owed me.
I can't do that.
How
much was the whole car? Listen, you're
The
going
whole
to
car
complicate
was-
my life. I don't disentangle people's problems.
The
Do you
whole car was
understand? That's not
$3,600.
my job. The car was $3,600 and he paid $404. Is that
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
$3,196. And when did you make your last payment on the car, sir?
I've never made a payment on the car.
She says you gave her $404.
That money that was given was to take care of my child before I was put on child support.
Have you been paying your child support
Yes,
regularly?
ma'am. I have my documents.
Have you been paying your child support regularly?
Yes.
Then can you explain to me why they, according to her at least, they repossessed your truck?
They never repossessed my truck.
Really? For child support? They take your taxes for back child support?
That's because I was put on, then took off.
Did
so
they
the amount,
take your taxes to pay off child support?
Yes, they did.
Okay, and how much did they take?
$930.
Did you contest that amount, sir?
No, I didn't contest the amount.
Then you must have agreed that you owed $930 in child support.
We had already went to court for the child support, and that's what they told me I had to pay from the day she filed until the current day we went to the
Right.
mediator. So that is what I was owed in child support.
Correct.
It wasn't back payment as if I wasn't working or anything.
No, it was if you weren't paying anything, sir.
Yeah.
Let's say this. Let's say they made an order for you September 1st to pay $100 a month, and you hadn't paid child support since January 1st. So they would say, well, if you paid $100 a month going back till January, then you don't owe anything. But if you hadn't been paying any child support, then they're going to say from the date of filing, this is what you owe. Now, had you been paying her child support?
I wasn't paying her directly child support, no.
Well, who were you paying it to?
I was taking care of Kimara.
And how were you doing that?
By supporting her. I had my daughter 3 days a week and taking her to and from daycare.
Who was paying for the daycare?
We were both paying for daycare.
Were you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
In the court order, it was, but not before that. When he was away at college, every time after, until I filed, I was paying the full amount of daycare. That's why I filed for support, because he wasn't helping.
As stated by Amber Cyrus, the original reason she filed for child support was jealousy, in that she wasn't getting her money on the 1st, and she needed it on the 1st. I was giving it to her when I got paid on the 10th. I got paid on the 10th and the last day of the month, and she couldn't wait 10 days to get that money.
My daughter would be out of daycare if I waited 10 days to pay daycare.
But as she stated, she was already paying it, so 10 more days could not have hurt her pockets that much, ma'am.
Maybe not, but she likes the idea of getting it through the court, and I don't blame her, because that has nothing to do with old girlfriend, new girlfriend, or, of course, old car loan that gets stolen.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You've let him take money out of your daughter's savings account that you put money away for
Yes,
her
ma'am.
future so that he could make a truck payment. That's your stupidity.
And later today,
You went over a median in the parking lot and you damaged the car. Who do you think should pay for that?
Not me, I'm not responsible for it.
Why? Did the island move while you were driving?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amber Cyrus says the father of her child, William Riddick, owes for a car she bought with her credit card. Amber also claims William took money from their 4-year-old daughter's bank account.
You also took money from your daughter's savings account.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
My great-grandmother passed, and I was awarded to go to her funeral. The day of, I got called into work to open the branch because they had a meeting. I was a bank teller, and they were supposed to let me off at 10. The meeting went till 12. When they came back, I just counted my tail out and left. And then I came back. They put me on administrative leave for just walking out. So from there, I got fired. From then, my savings account went to zero, and I needed money to pay my car loan.
So you had a new car that you were paying off?
Yes, ma'am.
Without paying for the old car that got stolen?
The old car wasn't a loan.
Yeah, I find it's a loan.
Okay.
I find it's a loan. You're not her husband. If you were her husband and you
I
bought a
don't find
car,
it was
you
a
were
loan.
family and living together, that's one thing. You're away in college, you have a baby, you go to college, very nice. Call her, I want to drive home instead of flying home. It'll be more convenient and it'll save me money. Well, it saved you a whole lot of money. Saved you everything. You didn't pay for an airplane ticket. You didn't pay to ship anything home. She put the money on her credit card and you didn't pay. That's a pretty good deal.
How is it to pay for a decision that you make for your family?
You're not her family. Get over it.
Okay.
You're not her family. You're not any more her family than you are my family, sir. Family is a unit that stays together. Family, listen, everything has babies. Dogs, cats, fish, guppies, parakeets, they have babies. They don't necessarily have families forever. You don't have a family with this lady. You have a new girlfriend. How many children do you have? Just one?
Just one.
Just one. With her?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a new girlfriend,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you live with her?
No.
You don't live with anybody.
I live on my own.
Good. That's not a family. Having a girlfriend is not a family.
I didn't say she was my girlfriend.
You just told me I have a new girlfriend.
You said it was my family.
No, I said having a girlfriend isn't a family.
Oh, okay.
Even having a girlfriend with whom you make a baby isn't a family. Unless you live together as a family unit. Then, by some stretch of the imagination, you may be able to call that a family unit. Now, I can't figure out what he owes you with interest, madam. He owes you $3,196 minimally, right? That's without any interest. And
Yes,
if he
ma'am.
hasn't made any payments, add on another $1,000, that's $41.96. And what he's saying is he needed money to pay his car loan, and you'd let him take money out of your daughter's savings account that you put money away for
Yes,
her
ma'am.
future so that he could make a truck payment. That's your stupidity.
I understand that.
Then you deal with your own stupidity. Stop making payments for him.
I will. I did.
Good. You want to know why? The last mistake you should make with him is making a baby. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. He looks like a very nice young man, but he's not ready to commit to you or anybody. He thinks that because he has a child, he has a family. He'll make a couple of families.
Yes.
Right?
I know.
Right. Right. But right now he owes you $41.96.
Thank you.
That's it. Judgment
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He feels if he has to pay me child support, he doesn't owe me any money.
Hey, women are women.
Hopefully he learned his lessons. I learned mine. So
Vindictive women.
the most important thing to me is my child.
I'm done.
For my future, I'm securing mine and my daughter's finances so we can have a better life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Culp versus Molina, step forward.
21-year-old Krista Culp is suing her ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old Jonathan Molina, for damaging her car when he ran over a cement island.
Miss Culp, you and Mr. Molina had a relationship. You lived together for a period of time. You claim he moved out owing you rent. And prior to his moving out, a short time before he moved out, he had an accident with your car and damaged it. Let's deal with the car first because the car is the easy thing. Mr. Molina, you did in fact borrow Miss Culp's car to go to the store to run an errand. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And while you were there, you went over a median in the parking lot. Is that correct?
Yes, I went over a, what do you call it, island?
Whatever. Something higher than the sidewalk, right?
Right.
And you damaged the car, right?
Yes.
Who do you think should pay for that?
Not me, I'm not responsible for it.
Why? Did the island move while you were driving?
No,
Then who should be responsible for it, Mr. Molina?
not me.
Well, I'm asking you, who?
She should.
Now explain why, sir.
Because she gave me full permission to borrow her car.
Right. She didn't give you permission to drive it over an island. She gave you permission to go to the store for an errand. You had an accident because you drove carelessly. I mean, unless you're telling me this is a movable parkway. You drove carelessly, therefore it's your fault. Now, Mr. Molina, you have to repeat after me, sir. How old are you?
19.
It was my fault.
It was not my fault.
Whose fault was it, Mr. Molina? Mr. Molina,
Yes, ma'am.
were you driving?
Yes, I was.
It was your fault. Did I say it loud enough so that maybe you understand it at age 19? At age 19, you shouldn't be in a relationship with somebody. How old are you?
21.
You have children?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many?
2.
He's too young for you. You have children?
No.
You should be out playing hopscotch or something. But you owe her to fix the car, Mr. Molina, because when you have an accident with a car that you borrow, because you're driving recklessly and go over an island that is not moving, it's your fault. And if she had no insurance on the car and she has to have it fixed, do you have insurance?
I have insurance, but it's liability insurance.
She doesn't have collision insurance. That means you have to pay for it, sir. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. How much will it be to fix the car?
The estimate was $2,251.29.
And what kind of car is this?
It's a J30 Infiniti 1994.
So the car is 13 years old?
Yes, it's my only transportation.
Let me take a look at that. This isn't the kind of estimate that you usually get from a place.
That is from Tom's mobile mechanic. He just came over yesterday and estimated it because he had to come to my apartment because the car is undrivable.
Okay, so you have to fix the car.
Yes.
And he wants $2,251.29, and I think he'll do it for $2,000. Now, let's talk about the rent. You say he moved out owing you some money for rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
Whose name is on the lease?
Both of us.
And tell me, under what circumstances did he move out?
He's supposed to pay me $400 each month.
Under what circumstances did he move out?
Owing me about...
No. Did you ask him to leave, or did he just leave?
Yes, Your Honor, I asked him to leave after I found out he was cheating on me.
So you asked him to leave?
Yes.
Okay. And he left?
Yes.
And in what month did he leave?
It was the middle of October.
Is that right, sir?
Yeah.
Did he pay October's rent?
Not all of it.
How much did he pay?
$50.
Did he give it to you directly?
Yes.
$50?
Yes, Your Honor.
And did he pay September's rent?
He paid half.
How much did he pay?
$200.
Now, Mr. Molina, you have a defense and you say that you work, correct?
Yes. And the place I was working at, they were cutting my hours, and I was working like 21 to 26 hours, and every check that I would get, I would hand it over to her.
That's what you say.
And it was like 2-something, and I would have no money. Every week, I would just hand over my check, give it to her.
That's what he says. He says that every week he worked, he would hand you his check, and you would give him gas money. Is that correct?
No, Your Honor. He would hand me cash. His check was for $80. He kept $30 for gas, gave me $50. That was for October.
Okay, so how much did he give you for October? He worked every week in October, so he couldn't have given you just $50.
Your Honor, he doesn't give me every check. He says that he gives me every check. Sometimes he only works 20 hours a week.
Was he working more than that when you decided to lease an apartment with him?
We had both just gotten new jobs to get the apartment together, and it's not my fault he only works 20 hours a week. He could have got a different job or asked for more hours.
How much did you give her in September for the rent, sir?
None.
She says for September she got $200.
I thought you were talking about October, but September I gave her $200.
And in October?
I only gave her $50.
And what did she say when you gave her the $50?
She's like, where's the rest of it? I'm like, well, my hours are cut, you know? There's nothing I could do. I asked my manager, can I have more hours? You know, I have stuff to pay, this and that. And they didn't like me. They just cut my hours.
Ms. Cope, where were you living before you moved in with Mr. Molina and your 2 children?
I was living with my best friend.
And how much rent were you paying?
I wasn't having to pay rent.
How long did you live with your best friend?
For about 1.5 years.
And what is the rent you are paying now?
$779 a month.
And how much child support do you receive?
I don't receive any child support.
Why not?
Because both of the fathers to my children, they were in prison, so.
They were what?
In prison, incarcerated.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a secretary for a law office.
What are your earnings?
$10 an hour.
How are you paying the rent?
I get welfare.
How much do you get from welfare?
$500.
$500 a month towards your rent?
Yes.
What else do they pay for?
They give me food stamps, about $300. That and my work is my only income.
So that your rent is really $279 a month?
Yeah, you can say that.
I am saying that.
Okay.
Your rent is $279 a month. So in the month of September, he gave you $200. So in September, your share of the rent was $79.
Yes. Well.
And in October, he gave you, according to you, $50. So that sort of evened it out. The government was paying most of the rent, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to stay in that apartment, is that correct?
Yes.
Good. Mr. Molina owes you to fix the car. The rent the government is paying for. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all. Thank you.
Your Honor, case number 409 on the calendar in the matter of Thompson versus Simmons.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
You must have been absent on the day that I told you never to co-sign on a car for anybody.
Yes, Your Honor. I think
Not a
I
good
must
day
have
to
been.
be absent. In any event, you did, in fact, do that. You
Yes, I did.
co-signed on a car for Mr. Simmons while you were in a relationship. The relationship terminated, as most of these relationships do, and you repossessed the car. Mr. Simmons stopped, according to you, making payments on the car. You invested a lot in the car. You're stuck with those payments and those fees, and you want him to compensate you. Mr. Simmons says that you had a rather odd arrangement with regard to the car, and that was that as long as you were dating, you would make the payments on the car. That's what you said.
That's correct.
Right? And as soon as you stopped dating, he made the payments on the car, and you had no right to repossess the car. As a matter of fact, he was perfectly willing to put the car in his name and to assume all of the financial responsibility, and you chose to have the car towed to a secret location, preventing him from having access to what was really his vehicle. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
That's a first, Mr. Simmons, but I'm going to let you go there in a minute. How long were you and Mr. Simmons involved in a relationship before this car was purchased?
7 months.
7 months exclusively, 7 months living together, 7 months
7 months just exclusively dating.
Well, he just looked at you as if to say, maybe exclusive for you, honey, but not for me necessarily. That was the look. I'm just letting you know that that was the look. So after 7 months, would you let me share the circumstances surrounding purchasing this car from your perspective?
During the time that we dated, he frequently borrowed my car to drive about an hour, hour and a half to pick up his daughter for visitations every other weekend because his vehicle was just not up for the drive. So when he approached me asking me to co-sign a loan for him to buy a new car, I looked at the fact that he had had a job for 7 years and kind of have a soft spot for dads that are devoted to their daughters, and I agreed to co-sign for the loan as long as I never had to spend a penny out of pocket for that car.
Is that what you said to him?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely not, Your Honor.
And so tell me what you did.
So I co-signed the loan, and...
did you go shopping with him?
No, he had it all picked out. The only time I ever went to the dealership with him was when we went to sign the papers.
When he purchased it?
Correct.
And the car was purchased when?
The car was purchased at the end of September in 2006. First payment he made in November of 06.
And how much was the payment that he made in November?
$543.41.
And you have proof of that?
Oh, yes.
Good. Go ahead.
Then he was laid off from his job just weeks later, so it was about Thanksgiving 2006.
He was laid off?
Yes.
Did he have a conversation with you about being laid off?
Oh, sure.
What did he say?
No, he was fired because he was late for work too often. He kind of has a liking to staying up all night drinking and playing video games.
Okay, so he was laid off from this job that he had for 7 years, according to you?
According to him. I didn't check his employment record.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, so then he's laid off, and what about December's payment?
He did not have the money for it, and I take great pride in my credit, so I said that I would make the payment at the due date and get the money to me as soon as he can.
And what did he say?
Absolutely. I'll get it to you as soon as I can.
What about January's payment?
Nope, same situation. He was still trying to find work. He was going to the temporary services, but it was so early in the morning, and he would be frustrated that they wouldn't have work for him.
Was he living with you?
Not at all, no.
What about February's payment?
By the beginning of February, he came to me with some cash. He had owed me still for a past phone bill. He'd often tell me he had money for me. And when it came time to bring the money to me, he would call and delay. And
in February, he brought you some cash. How much?
$800 cash on February the 3rd.
And that was for the?
It was for money that he owed me. The cell phone. I was also paying the insurance on the car.
Listen, I'm not a bookkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know how much of that $800 was for the car.
$105.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
The plaintiff suggested that if I had any problems initially making any car payments, that to not worry about it, don't feel so stressed and obligated because she was aware of my other financial obligations.
Don't tell me what she was aware of.
These are facts, Your Honor.
You made the payment in November, sir. According to the plaintiff, is that the truth or a lie?
Payment in November?
Yes, she can say
No,
that she can establish that you made the payment in November.
That's not correct.
Can I see?
made two payments.
Shh. Can I see the November payment, please?
Yes, ma'am.
payment in November, sir?
Not from my account.
Did you give her money?
I gave her money occasionally,
Okay.
yes, but not directly related to that November payment.
Okay.
As she stated already, there are some phone bills and some things that she said that she would put in her account or put into her name so that I could maintain communication with her. And I told her that I would help her out occasionally when I had the finances to do that.
You were supposed to make the payments on this car, sir. According to you, you were supposed to make the payments on this car. And according to you, what you just said to me was she told you, if you can't make the payments at some point, don't be so stressed, I'll cover them. That's what you started to tell me.
That's correct.
That's different from saying what you swore to in your answer, while we were dating, I'll make the payments. That's different. That's a whole different thing, Mr. Simmons. Do you get it? You can
back and forth from
listen. Don't tell me flip-flop. Flip-flop doesn't make a contract. Flip-flop doesn't make a deal. If what she said to you, which may be true, listen, I don't want you to be stressed. If you're short, I'll cover for you because, you know, you've been paying me for the other things. Don't be stressed. That I believe. What I didn't believe when I read your answer that you swore to, sir, was the following.
Yeah, following.
She told me she would pay the monthly payments on a new Toyota Camry as long as we were together. That, Mr. Simmons, I didn't believe. You know why I don't believe it? Because it doesn't sit well with my common sense. And based upon what you just told me, I was accurate. Because she never said, as long as we're dating, I'll make the monthly payments. She said, I don't want you to stress. That's what you say. If you're short, I'll help you.
That's correct.
That's a different thing, Mr. Simmons.
I find the two to be very similar.
Well, maybe that's why you're standing there and I'm sitting here. Did you ever think of that?
No.
Maybe that's why I am continuously employed and you are not.
Okay, well,
Mr.
I'm employed
Simmons.
now.
Well, that's wonderful. How old are you?
What does that have to do with anything?
I want to know how old you are. You have a child,
I'm
you have a
38.
support order, and it's clear in December and January you weren't working. How could you not be working?
As she explained, my employment was terminated.
Well, so I just said to you, I'm continuously employed and you're not. And I don't have children that I have to support, thank God, anymore. If you said to me in your statement what you said to me just now, I would have believed you. I would have said, well, I could imagine a woman who's in love, you know, could just be that kind of sucker. You know, I want you to have a good car. If you're short on the money, I'll help you. But that's not what you said.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How were you seeing him at that point?
I wasn't.
He says that you were still in a relationship.
We weren't.
Must have been through the astrologer.
That was probably it.
And later today,
I'm asking you, what proof do you have, sir, that she took the box?
She was the only one with the key that day, Your Honor. Nobody else ever knew where that lockbox was. She's the only one down there, ever.
Lisa Thompson says ex-boyfriend Scott Simmons owes for a Toyota Camry that was in her name. Scott says that Lisa is a woman scorned.
How much did you spend on his car before you repossessed it?
Before I could find it, I ended up making a total of 7 payments. He wasn't able to make a lot of them on time, so I would go in and pay the payment, and that would give him a few extra days to get to me with the money. He also gambled quite a bit, so he would gamble and then lose the money, and then he'd need a few more days.
In what month did you repossess the car?
I repossessed it in October because he was so far behind in the payments. I kept asking him to just give me the car, and I'll sell it and get him off the loan, and then we just don't have to deal with this
And what was his
anymore.
response?
No.
Why wouldn't you give her the car?
Because that wasn't part of our arrangement. Just like she suggested that I was supposed to be responsible
Well, but you weren't
for
making
the car
payments on the. You weren't making payments on the
Because
car.
we were in a relationship.
No, not
Once she
anymore.
called- Yes, we were. She may have hidden it well from whoever else, or maybe she's delirious of the fact that we were still seeing one another at that moment.
You weren't paying for the car.
She was supposed to pay for the car.
No, sir, you just lied to me. That's not what you told me 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago,
5
you
minutes
said
ago, I
5
suggested
minutes.
that I would help her whenever I
No,
could.
that's not what you said. Not you would help her. You told me she would help you if you were short. That's what you told me. Here you said that she was supposed to make all the payments. Clearly, that's a lie. 5 minutes ago, Mr. Simmons, you said, she said not to stress if you couldn't make the payments, then she would help you out. Now your story is she was supposed to make the payments and you would help her out. That's 3 different stories, Mr. Simmons, in 10 minutes. I don't know what you saw in him, madam. I've been with him for a relatively short period of time. Evidently, you need a longer period of time in order to have that attraction sort of kick in. I think so. You had a key made to the car. You went to his place of employment, according
Well, actually,
to
he wasn't working for all those months. So I spent hours and hours trying to find the car. He was evicted from his apartment, so I couldn't look there for him anymore.
How were you seeing him at that point?
I wasn't.
He says that you were still in a relationship.
We weren't.
Must have been through the astrologer.
That was probably it.
Go ahead.
So I searched for him and searched for him. I had everyone I know looking out for this car. I had the license plate. I had text messages.
I have other things to do.
Sorry. He ended up telling me he had just started back at his job. I showed up at his job while he was at work, sat in the car, called the tow truck, waited for them to come and get it.
So they towed the car to the company?
No, that had to do with the police. Wouldn't take any stand on it. They sent the tow truck home because it said it's a civil matter, but I wouldn't get out of the car. I said, well, it's not going to happen because I'm not going to get out of the car.
Great. So what happened?
He eventually gave in and took his stuff out of the car, but refused to give me the keys still. So I had to have it towed to a dealership and have a new key made.
That's not correct.
Well, so tell me what happened, sir.
No, she said that she was going to give me opportunity to try to get the car refinanced.
I'd been telling you for months.
Together, we drove over to the dealership. Meanwhile, while I'm in the dealership trying to get this refinanced, work it all out, she's outside. I come back outside to talk to her, and the car is gone. In a scandalous way, she had the car towed from the dealership.
Perfect.
Oh, you like that now?
Oh, I certainly do, sir. I certainly do. Did you bring any canceled checks to show me that in the 2 months prior to her taking possession of the car, you made the car payments?
Yes, ma'am.
Show me.
So last 3 pages are 2 car payments that I had made in the month of, I think it was March. Following that.
Just a second. Wait. In what month was the car repossessed?
I took it back the beginning of October.
In October?
Yes.
So we're talking about August and September.
There's a statement in there for August.
Well, you have something here that says girlfriend's account.
That's correct.
So in August, your girlfriend made a payment.
Through her account, correct.
Okay, and for $548.41. Okay?
That's correct.
Where is September?
Did not make payment September.
Why not?
Payment was already paid 2 months in advance. There was 2 payments made consecutively from February and March on the other statements that you have there.
We're not talking March. I'm asked you September. Show me September's payment, sir.
I just have August there.
Well, you didn't make September. Then in October, she said, I'm taking it back. Here, give this back to him. Wouldn't know the truth if it came up and slapped him in the face. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,659. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Spite, because I'm seeing somebody else.
I didn't care.
And when I didn't want to be with her anymore, she chose to take the car back.
All I wanted was the money to pay for the what's on my credit.
She was feeling neglected, yes.
Oh, Judge Judy's #1 rule, never co-sign a loan.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gentry versus Stevenson, step forward, please.
Dan Gentry is suing his former friend, 23-year-old Danielle Stevenson, for stealing a lockbox full of cash from his home. Danielle denies the charge.
Mr. Gentry, you and Miss Stevenson had sort of a casual relationship. The relationship isn't that important to this case. What is important is that you believe that while she was performing some work at your house, and that work was cleaning your house, which she did on occasion for money.
Correct.
She stole a lockbox that you kept in the basement.
Correct.
And its contents. And Miss Stevenson says she did not.
Correct.
She never saw the lockbox?
No, I didn't.
And so you, Mr. Gentry, are going to have to tell me what proof do you have that Miss Stevenson took this box? Go ahead.
She had cleaned for me the end of June of '06. It was a Friday, the 25th. That night I gave her a key to the house to come and clean the bathroom floor and do a few dishes the next day, okay? July 29th, when I came home from work at 7 p.m. that night, I came in, front door, of course. By my front door of the closet, I noticed an umbrella missing. I went in the bedroom. My top dresser drawer was pulled out, $25, $30 cash. Went in the kitchen. There was a fingernail file, metal fingernail file that was originally in the bathroom, laying on the kitchen counter. That made me think to go downstairs and look at the lockbox. I went down there, completely gone. Nothing ransacked. Doors completely closed.
That's on July 29th.
Correct.
Okay.
June 25th, she was down there cleaning by herself with a neighbor friend of mine. Her father and I had left to go to the store. She was down there 45 minutes, maybe an hour by herself, straightening up some bags. Nobody else knew where that lockbox was at or even could have found it.
So?
So when she was down there, more than likely she looked through there
It's possible.
being in a...
I'm asking you, what proof do you have, sir, that she took the box?
I don't have 100% proof, but
I'm not asking you for 100% proof. You don't need 100% proof in civil court, but you need proof.
Okay, well, she had the key to the house that day, the only person with the key for her to come that Saturday the next day to do the cleaning.
So keep going.
Like I said, that's when I came home that night. It was missing. Made a police report. I do have that. Photos where the lockbox was. From there, it went to a detective. Miss Mancini refused to take a polygraph test. From there, it went later on.
What's your name was Stevenson?
I got married. He didn't know that I had gotten married until probably a month or two ago.
Okay, go ahead.
Went to a prosecutor after that, and he said he couldn't do a whole lot with it. But the only thing is, when I called her that night of the 29th of July of 06, outside she said, check the side door. I might have left it unlocked. I threw some water out there or something. Of course, I went over and checked the door, screen door, big door, both unlocked. But she remembered to lock the front door when she left.
So?
My feeling, 1 in a million, someone could come in there and knew where that lockbox was.
They also took $25 or $30 out of your drawer,
Right.
according to you, and an umbrella,
Correct.
and your lockbox.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all the proof that you have against her?
She was the only one with the key that day, Your Honor.
Mr. Gentry, I don't even have to ask her any question. The fact that she had a key to your house doesn't mean that she took your property. Your door was also open. Is that correct?
The side door, which no one...
Side door was also open. Is that correct?
Correct. Left unlocked.
Mr. Gentry, I don't know whether she took your property or not, but the fact that she had access to your house, the fact that your property was missing, doesn't mean she took it. Doesn't mean she took it.
Okay. I do have a recording from my voicemail she had left after sometime August to February of 07.
Yeah.
That she'd left saying that she would pay me back even though she didn't do it.
Oh, she said she'll pay you back even though she didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Nobody else ever knew where that lockbox was. She's the only one down there ever.
So what you're telling me is you have a voicemail from her that says, I didn't do it.
I didn't do it, but I would pay you because the detective had told her that she might be facing charges against her.
Is that right?
Yes. The reason I told him that I would pay it even though I didn't do it is because me and him were friends for like 4 or 5 years. This is somebody who I talk to every day, who was like my best friend. So him being mad at me, it made me upset. So I was willing to make payments to him on whatever he thought was stolen just so we could continue our friendship.
I wouldn't want to be friendly with somebody that thought I was the thief.
I kind of figured that if I said something like that, he might realize that I didn't do it. Because if I was going to steal from him, I would have done it during the beginning of our friendship, not towards the end after, my son spent time with him and everything else. He came to my parents' house, everything.
Whatever. You don't have enough evidence for me to even stretch it, sir, and reach a conclusion that you can establish, even in a civil proceeding, that she stole your property. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Your case is dismissed.
Case number 398 on the calendar in the matter of Kennedy versus Kennedy.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
How old are you?
13.
Is your mother?
Yes.
And your father?
Yes.
You can wait outside. Mrs. Kennedy, this is your former husband, and it is your claim that he owes you some money for some bills that came up after your divorce papers had been filed and therefore were not resolved in the judgment of divorce.
That is correct.
That's pretty much your claim. Your husband says that these bills that you're asking for are petty, that he took care of the home and the children for 4 months after you left with absolutely no support from you, and the least you could do is pay for the electric.
That's correct.
When did the two of you separate?
We separated in August of 2005.
And I gather from what Mr. Kennedy says that you left the home.
I didn't leave the home until the sale of the home, which was in April of 2006.
In August 2005, were you living together?
Yes.
In September of 2005, were you living together?
Correct.
Mr. Kennedy, you said your wife left. When did she leave?
April 2006.
When she left in April of 2006, where were the children?
With me.
For how long?
Until July, I believe it was 19th of 2006.
And where were you?
I had moved to a different residence approximately 4 blocks away with my 2 oldest children from a previous relationship.
And you were there with the 4 children?
3.
3. How old were they?
Now they're 13, 9, and 7.
And who do they live with now?
They live with Carrie now.
Is that by agreement?
Yes,
And you pay child support?
I do.
How much?
Roughly $600 a month.
Is that correct?
That is correct. However, Your Honor, he wasn't paying child support until ordered by a judge and until his wages were garnished. For almost a year and a half, he did not pay child support.
Is that right, sir?
Correct. I wasn't working at the time.
I don't care. That's irrelevant to me. And I'm sure it was irrelevant to the court that you weren't working. Why weren't you working?
I I guess I just couldn't find a job.
When you have 3 children, you find a job. You're an intelligent man, you know that. Okay, so then I'm less sympathetic with you, Mr. Kennedy. You see, I was getting sympathetic because if Mrs. Kennedy leaves and she leaves you with 3 children and she sends you no child support, I sort of feel as if $1,100 is pennies under those circumstances. But if you didn't pay any child support for over a year because you decided not to work, that's a lot longer than 3.5 months.
Correct, but I would pick up the children throughout the week, provide for them what I could. When I had a job, I'd give her half of whatever I made.
And you mean at the times when you weren't providing them with support and she was taking care of 5 children, she was supposed to say to the kids, we're not eating lunch today because Dad's not working and whatever I do. Do you work?
I do work, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for a promotions department. I organize events through the county.
Same job for how long?
Almost a year and a half.
Okay. When you left in April of 2006, according to your complaint, he was supposed to take the electric bill out of your name.
Correct.
Is that your agreement?
That is correct.
Well, that's what she's stuck with. She's stuck with that bill. That's what she's asking you for.
Initially, it was supposed to come to me, and I had contacted the electric company, told them I'd have to make payments on that. That wasn't good enough for them, so they decided to tack it onto her bill at her new house.
So then you owe, just a second, so you owe her that money. How much does he owe you for the electric bill?
$699.99, and that's not exactly how it went. He stayed in the house that we once shared, rented it from the new owner, couldn't continue paying the rent on it, and left. Moved in with a friend, left no forwarding address, and to my understanding made no contact to the electric company to get the bill resolved. And that's how it got transferred to me.
Fine, $699.99. It's yours. Let's go on to the income taxes, which is a far more interesting subject. Go ahead.
Income taxes. These are from the year of 2003 when Kevin was employed full-time and I was the stay-at-home mom. Apparently when he was unemployed after we separated, I don't know if the state of California had tried to make contact with him, but they couldn't find him. They found me because I was working.
Can I see the tax bill? You know about this tax bill, Mr. Kennedy?
Through my ex-wife, I do.
And?
When I moved from the house that we shared, I had all my mail forwarded.
I'm not talking about the forwarding mail. I'm talking about this tax bill. It was money that clearly you were working full-time, correct?
Correct.
She was not employed outside of the home.
When we were together, no.
Did you owe child support for other children?
No.
A record show an outstanding child support obligation that has priority over your personal income tax liability.
Your Honor, I believe that's for the current child support he's owing back.
I see. The balance due here is $342.55. Did you pay it?
It's being garnished from my wages.
Show this to him, please. Have you ever seen that document?
I haven't read it. I just heard about it from her.
And he was given that information. He said he tried to make contact with them, but was on hold for too long.
I had my mail forwarded to a P.O. box. If they wanted to find me, they could have found me.
Maybe they did find you. Maybe you took it and threw it in the garbage. How do I know? It's your responsibility. Why didn't you pay it?
Because I didn't have the $300 and some to pay her.
Well, who are you living with now?
I live with some friends.
That's not a good enough answer for me. Who do you live with now? The names of the people that you live with.
Joshua and Tina. I think their last name is something like that.
How long have you lived with them?
4 months.
Are they a couple?
Yes, you could. Yeah.
You know, why bother to get into it with you? You owe her $1,100, Mr. Kennedy. When you have 3 children, you can't afford to be unemployed unless you are mentally or physically unable to work, neither of which appears to be so in your case. So you have 3 children, you have to do whatever you can do. You get a hack license, you drive a cab, you pick up cans, you go to work for the Parks Department. You can't take the day off.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Since July of 2006, he's lived with 5 different people.
Sounds as if he's not doing too well.
He's not, Your Honor.
And later today.
They signed a lease.
They signed a lease that I was not aware of.
What difference does it make? That was your agreement with her. She's not your mother. Why would she make your mortgage payment? Thick.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Kennedy says her ex-husband, Kevin Kennedy, owes for an electric bill, a cell phone bill, and for taxes from the state.
Okay. Now, did you get half the money from the house that was sold?
I did.
How much did you get?
I believe it was $32,000 or $36,000.
And how much did you get?
Approximately 20.
20.
That's incorrect, Your Honor. It was split right down the middle. You got half, I got half.
Why would she get more than you?
I agreed to give her more than I got because she was moving into a new place. And she complained to me that splitting it right down the middle wouldn't be fair to her.
Does that sound right?
He would not allow me to take anything out of the home that we had in the house, except for any personal items. He kept the refrigerators, the computers, TVs, everything else. I didn't get any of that until I took possession of the children in July of 2006 because he had nowhere to move and had to move in with his girlfriend. Since July of 2006, he's lived with, I'm approximating 5 different people.
Sounds as if he's not doing too well.
He's not, Your Honor, and it's just incredibly sad that my oldest daughter has had to move back home with me to help me pay the bills.
Judge, for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This money has been long owed to me, and I'm just glad it's done and over with.
I just hope there's no other bills that pop up that I have to be taken to court for.
I think this is going to be a never-ending battle.
I'm just ready to go home.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Edwards. Step forward.
Real estate agent Chavez Smith is suing her former friend and client, Erica Edwards, for a loan to pay her mortgage payments.
All right, well, this is one of those little complicated cases that Bert and I are going to try to figure out together. Miss Smith, you and Miss Edwards were friends. By the way, are you a licensed realtor?
Yes, I am.
In what state?
California.
According to your complaint, Miss Edwards wanted to sell her home.
Yes.
And you had initially found a buyer, but that deal fell through.
Yes, ma'am.
So you and Miss Edwards entered into this rather convoluted arrangement.
Yes.
Whereby you would make the mortgage payments on her home.
Yes.
While you were trying to find a purchaser.
Yes.
You might also rent the house while you were looking for a purchaser.
Yes.
And Miss Edwards would be out from under the problem of the mortgage, and she could go and live elsewhere. So far, is that about right?
Yes.
Yes. She did move out of the house, and it is your claim that you made, I believe, 4 mortgage payments for her.
Yes.
She owes you that money.
Yes.
Miss Edwards says that she found out that you had, in fact, rented the house, didn't tell her that you had rented the house, collected money from the new tenant, did not pay the mortgage on time, thereby ruining her credit. She is counterclaiming for ruining her credit and for the money that you got from renting her house. When did you move out of your house, Miss Edwards?
I moved out May the 29th.
When was the first mortgage payment due?
May the 1st.
Is that the mortgage payment she was supposed to make?
Correct.
But you were living in the house the entire month of May.
She gave me the okay to take that money to put a deposit down on the apartment while she put tenants into the house.
Is that right?
Yes,
So you were supposed to make May's payment?
Yes.
And it's due on May the 1st?
Correct.
Did you make May's payment?
Yes, I did.
When?
June 8th.
Well, that's late.
Yes.
That's unacceptable. You understand that?
No, because I didn't tell her that the payment would be made on time. I was helping her.
No, Miss Smith.
I was helping her out
Miss
of the
Smith,
situation.
I read that in your answer to her counterclaim. And you said, well, I told her that I was going to make the payments, but I never said I would make the payments on time. It is presumed in the law that if you agree to take over the mortgage payment, it's understood. The same way it's understood if you say, I'll take over the mortgage payments, that you don't pay them in rupees or yen. You pay them in U.S. dollars. You don't have to write it out that you're going to pay them in U.S. dollars. You say, I'm going to take over the mortgage payments, and they will be paid. And they will be paid on time. You don't have to write on time.
But, Your Honor, we didn't come to that agreement until after she had moved out May 29th.
So you're saying you didn't come to the agreement to make the mortgage payment for May 1st.
Until it was already late.
Until it was, I see that. Is that correct?
That is not correct, Your Honor. We made this agreement the beginning of May.
When the beginning of May?
Around May 1st, because there's a grace period for the mortgage up until the 15th. And Ms. Smith agreed to go ahead and use my mortgage money for that month to put a deposit down on the apartment where I was moving to.
That's not correct.
No, I believe you.
That's not
just a second. I believe you and I don't believe her. That she did not pay May 1st's mortgage payment on time, and you did not come to an agreement with her about this until after the mortgage payment for May was late. But then you had an agreement.
Yes.
So June 1st, you should have paid June's mortgage.
No, I paid June's mortgage on June 20th because I paid May's mortgage June 8th, so I paid June's mortgage June 20th.
And July?
And July, I paid July and August late.
When did you make the payments?
I made the payment both in September.
Well, that's unacceptable, Ms. Smith. That's unacceptable. So she has a legitimate gripe. If she had reasonable credit, and I don't know if she did, and she said that this destroyed her credit, that you made these mortgage payments late, she has legitimate beef. How much were the mortgage payments you made for her?
It was $1896.41 times 4.
Just a second.
$1896 and 41 cents.
7584. Okay. Now, you put a tenant into the house.
Yes, I did.
When?
They moved in June, but their payment wasn't good until July.
Why?
Well, the house was vacant, and they were in a situation to where they didn't have anywhere to go. So I allowed them to move in June and pay me for July.
How much did they pay you?
$1,450.
How much in total did you receive from these tenants?
I received $2,900 from the tenants.
The tenants also gave her a $1,000 deposit.
Did you add that in?
Yeah. Oh, no. They gave a $1,000 deposit, which was refunded to them.
Okay. I am deducting the amount she was paid by the tenants. Do you understand?
Yes.
Show me your credit score before June and show it to me after.
I wasn't able to get the credit score after, but I do have it before June.
Well, you have to show me both. How do I know that you were damaged? That's your counterclaim, that your credit score was damaged because your mortgage was paid late. Isn't that your counterclaim?
Yes.
Well, how am I supposed to see that? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if she paid your mortgage late and you could show damages as a result of paying the mortgage late, I would give you a certain amount to compensate you for that bad credit, but you can't prove that to me. Okay. Is there any reason why you don't owe her for these mortgage payments, $4,684? When did you move back into the house?
September the 15th.
She never moved back in.
September the 15th, the tenants moved out.
But she never moved in.
Who did?
Nobody. She left the house vacant until she just recently sold it a couple months ago. So
I moved back to the house.
Just a second. Hold it. Did you move back to the house?
Yes, I did.
In September?
September the 15th, when the tenants moved out.
And when did you sell the house?
September the 19th, 07.
So you sold the house 4 days later?
Yes. I didn't move my stuff. My stuff was in storage. I was there at the house.
Don't play with me. Will you please?
I'm not.
So you're playing with me. How much did you sell the house for?
$394,000.
How much did you pay for it?
$125,000.
Why didn't you give her the mortgage payments that she laid out for you?
What mortgage payments?
The mortgage payments that she paid for you.
The tenants that were there gave her the money for her to pay the mortgage.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
Show me that.
They're her friends. They were friends of hers.
Just a second. Show me that.
They were friends
Bring
of hers.
a witness.
And they did not want to be involved.
Listen to me.
These are friends that she moved into the house.
Listen to me, my dear. She made mortgage payments totaling almost $8,000. According to her, she got rent for a 2-month period, which I have deducted $1,450. Were they month-to-month tenants, or did they sign a lease?
They signed a lease.
They signed a lease that I was not aware of.
What difference does it make? That was your agreement with her. She's not your mother. Why would she make your mortgage payment? Your agreement was she was going to rent the house. She was going to make the mortgage payment until such time the house. I'm speaking thick. Until such time as the house could be sold, then she would recoup her money and everybody would be happy. I mean, what do you think? This is a windfall? You think you get somebody else to pay your mortgage, you make $200,000 on the house, and you don't have to pay it back? What are you, an idiot?
No, I'm not.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $46.84. That's all. Step out. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Business, friendship, and family really don't mix.
I guess the moral to all this is don't get business mixed with friendship.
At the end of the day, if somebody's trying to help you out as a friend, you would think that you would at least try to uphold your end of the bargain.
Be wiser and know what type of people you're dealing with.
I hate that it came to this.
We haven't talked since last year.
Sometimes people in your life are for a reason or a season, and I guess this was just a reason. I help her transition to wherever she needs to be, and I'll move forward.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of parent versus parent. Step forward, please.
Sonny Parent is suing his ex-wife, Stephanie Parent, for the return of a laptop computer. Stephanie says that Sonny needs to move on.
You two folks had a short-term marriage, and from what I gather, a relatively amicable divorce. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Did you have lawyers?
No.
Did you use the court system?
Yes.
Filed papers?
Yes.
Clerks had to read the papers?
Correct.
Judge had to read the papers? Judge's law secretary had to read the papers before you were granted the divorce? So you gobbled up your share of the justice system, right?
Yeah. Correct.
You're not going to gobble up any more time over nonsense. This is what this case is about. While you were married, there was a computer purchased.
Correct.
You say it was purchased for your business. She says it was purchased as a gift for her. I don't care. He doesn't care. You have two different versions of how she got her hands on the computer. You say she borrowed it. She says you borrowed it. I don't care. He doesn't care. How much was the computer?
$699.
When was it purchased?
In July, I do believe.
July 13th, 2006.
Yes.
So this $700 computer is now maybe worth $400. Who has the computer?
I do.
Do you want the computer or do you want to pay him $200?
I'll take the computer and pay him $200.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. That's all. Step out.
That's case number 360 on the calendar in the matter of Hollis versus Martosi. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
How old are you, Mr. Hollis?
23, Your Honor.
And you, Mr. Martosi?
24, Your Honor.
What do you do to occupy your days, Mr. Hollis?
I'm a full-time student at Christopher Newport University, and I'm also in the United States Army Reserve.
So you're a student?
Yes, ma'am.
And you?
I'm also a student, Your Honor, and also in the Air National Guard.
Is this a roommate of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old is he?
26.
And what does he do to occupy his time?
He's a student and he's also a realtor.
And how many people rented this house?
Myself and 3 others, Your Honor.
4 young men?
Yes, ma'am.
All in their 20s?
Yes, ma'am.
And from what genius did you rent this house?
I'm the owner, Your Honor.
You are the genius who's the owner.
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay for this house, Mr. Hollis?
$205,000, Your Honor.
How much did you put down?
$20,000.
Where'd you get it from?
From my deployment in Bosnia.
Did you have a good time in the house?
We have, yes.
Did you have nice parties?
We've had several, yes, ma'am.
Now, at one of the parties, it is your claim that the defendant caused some damage, and he was a tenant of yours. He rented a room.
Yes, ma'am.
He's no longer a tenant. You want him to pay for that damage.
Correct.
Second thing you want him to pay for is rent for the month of April, because he moved out mid-month.
Right.
And you want him to pay for that month that he moved out. And Mr. Martosi says he's not paying your rent. He didn't like what was going on in the house. And he didn't cause any damage to your property. Somebody else did. And he also says that somebody vandalized a motorcycle that he left in your garage by putting a hole in the gas tank, and he figures that was you. So he's got a counterclaim. Now, Mr. Martosi.
Yes, ma'am.
You lived in this house until what point in April?
April 20th.
Did you pay April's rent?
No, ma'am.
You're gonna pay April's rent. Do you understand? Your behind was there in the month of April. You pay rent.
Yes, ma'am.
See how easy that was? Rent. And how much was your share of the rent?
It was $400, but after I had moved out and I had come back, I found my motorcycle, which was originally...
I'll get to your counterclaim in a second,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
Right now, you're going to pay him his rent, which you should have paid it first of the month anyway.
Well, I also had tuition assistance coming in that wasn't always on time, and it
That's
could
whose
come back.
problem is that? It's not your landlord's problem.
But he knew about this, and he
I
had
don't
to
care
sort
what
it
he
out.
knew. He's supposed to pay him rent at the beginning of the month. Did I ask you a question?
No.
Perfect. $400. That's what you owe him for rent. So far, so good, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let me hear about the damaged property.
I have pictures of it here.
Just tell me about it, sir. I'll do your show and tell in a minute.
He was in a fight in a party that I was not even at. They had some friends over. They had a fight in the garage.
Well, then you weren't there.
I was there, Your Honor.
Perfect. Stand up. What's your name?
My name is Timothy Baggett. Timothy. Yes.
Just take your hands out of your pockets.
Sorry.
You never know what you have in your pockets. All right. When was this party, Timothy?
This party was approximately June of 2006. The first month or two he lived in. It was a graduation party.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes. The party took place. It was for a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours. He was drunk and
Anybody else drunk?
I'm sure.
Oh, it's not an answer.
Several people were drunk at the
Go
party,
ahead.
I'm sure.
Keep going.
So he wanted to get his keys back, and Mr. Martosi stepped in and said a few things to him. The fight broke out in the garage. I was there witnessing the fight. At one point, the fight tumbled over and bumped into the garage, breaking the window out. And that's the damage that was done in the garage.
Well, who caused the damage?
Well,
Look at me. Who
Yes.
caused the damage?
I was standing there watching, and they bumped into me, pushing me into the garage window. However,
Just a
so
second.
technically my back went through the window. Technically.
Technically.
Yes.
Perfect. Go ahead, let me hear.
He was actually involved in the fight because it was a pretty big guy that was in it. And it took two of us to take him down. He was actually involved the whole time, not just standing by.
Okay. What else?
There's a trench in the side of my yard where Mr. Martocci parked his Tahoe. There was a rain that night, and when he left, he spun tires in the yard, leaving a trench. Also, his room still has nails in it and writing on the walls. I don't know why he wrote on the walls, but he did. Also, holes in it and a hole in the door that he punched.
Can you explain to me why absolutely nothing of this is in your complaint? The only thing that's in your complaint is a shattered window, sir.
I thought I had
Here,
it
I'll
all
show
in
you
there.
your complaint. Here. Other than
In
the
August 2006.
other than the August of 2006, you say he also pulled his truck into the front yard and put a huge trench on the ground. That's August of 2006.
Right.
He moved out a year later.
Right.
Why, a year and a half later, do you sue him for making a hole in your lawn?
The tenant left damages to his room.
I'd asked him several times while he was living there to do it, and since we were already going to court about it, I just put it all in there together.
How much did it cost you to fix the trench where he made a
I
hole?
haven't fixed it yet, but I have an estimate.
You have a picture of it?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it.
It's the top picture, Your Honor.
You have estimates to fix this? I'll come over myself, put a little dirt in, and throw some seed over it. Right?
Right.
Get over it. He owes you for rent, $400. What else?
The bills that he neglected to pay for the month of April and also some in March.
What bills did he neglect to pay in March?
In March, there was a power bill and also the wastewater treatment and the Newport News Waterworks runs for 2 months.
Did you pay the utilities in March?
No.
How much do you owe him for the utilities in March?
He says I owe him $122.50, but the receipts that he showed me, some were post-dated even after I left.
Okay. So how much do you owe him?
If anything, like $75 approximately.
Well, is that how much your utilities were for the months that you were living there?
Yes and no, depending on the power bill and everything else that went on in the house.
He owes you for the utilities. What else?
That's it, Your Honor. The utilities, the rent, and the damages.
Damage to his room.
Fine. The damages you don't get, sir. The damages you talk to him about, you talk to the other person about, but you don't blame one person for a fight that broke out in your house. And as a matter of fact, he was involved. Put your hand down.
Yes.
Put your hand down.
Yes.
He was there. He was involved in it. He was the one who broke the window. Two other people may have pushed him into a window, but there was an altercation, and you weren't there.
Right.
And for the year or more that he lived there, there was no lawsuit about that window.
Right.
Right.
But also his room, the walls were destroyed in his room.
Yes.
I never destroyed the rooms. The most I did was hang up a couple pictures. And the writings, I don't remember any kind of writings that it could have been.
Well, maybe he wants to show you a picture.
I have
Now that you
pictures.
say you don't remember, you want to look at a picture? Okay. Show him the picture of the writings on the wall.
I believe it was done to level.
There is a line. There's a line where I hung a picture.
Can I see it?
And I don't know where that hole came from in the door.
Where's the writing on the wall, sir? Is this what you're showing me, a line?
Yes, ma'am.
There's a hole in the door as well.
Mr. Hollis, he owes you $500 for the rent and the utilities. Now let's get to anything else that I have to deal with, damages to motorcycle and other personal property.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
That's a lot of baloney, Mr. Martocci.
Besides that,
That's a lot of baloney, what you just told me.
And later today,
Your former husband was not required to pay child support as long as the statute was not satisfied?
It doesn't have a particular grade point average that...
Doesn't have to have a grade point average. He had a grade point average of 0.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Billy Joe Hollis says former tenant Jason Martocci owes for unpaid rent and bills and for damage to his home. Jason is countersuing, claiming Billy Joe intentionally damaged his motorcycle.
You had an accident with your motorcycle,
yes.
and your motorcycle was not working.
I was fixing it up in Mr. Hollis's garage.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
When you moved out, did you take your motorcycle?
Not immediately.
The answer would be, no, Your Honor, I didn't take my motorcycle.
Correct.
What did you take when you moved out?
The rest of my belongings. He knew I needed...
Don't tell me what he knew.
I needed transportation to transport my bike to my new house.
Because it didn't?
It wasn't running.
And it wasn't running because?
Because it needed a new brake lever, and I wasn't going to ride it without a brake lever.
That's a lot of baloney, Mr. Martocci.
Besides that...
That's a lot of baloney, what you just told me.
Well, as far as repairing the bike, The fairings were damaged in the accident.
Okay, so the bearings are down. It wasn't a foot brake. The bearings were broken.
It was the fairings on the side of the bike, the right side.
Yeah.
The hand lever for the
Yeah.
brake and the mirror. Nothing was wrong with the gas tank. The gas tank was still fully intact.
Perfect. And when you went back to pick it up, when? When did you go back to pick it up?
A couple weeks after I had moved out. They had taken the bike and it was sitting in the backyard on its side with a newly formed hole in the gas tank.
And who did that?
Billy.
How do you
Billy
know?
Joe.
How do you know?
I think he's just mad because apparently...
Just a second. Tell me what proof you have that Mr. Hollis in any way damaged your motorcycle.
Somebody in that house had to have damaged my motorcycle.
That's possible. That's not proof.
And as far as who to blame, since it was his house, he knew it was my bike and it was in his garage.
It's not his responsibility. As a matter of fact, he could have taken it and thrown it out. You hadn't paid rent. You abandoned the property. You left it there.
I was
You
never
left-
banned from the property.
Yes, you did. Sir, you didn't pay rent in April. He could have taken all of the stuff that you left behind and thrown it in the garbage. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Period. That's what he could have done. So, unless you have proof that he intentionally vandalized your motorcycle, you haven't given me proof. All you said is, well, somebody in the house must have done it, right? Because I assume the garage is a locked garage, right?
Correct.
And when you left it in a locked garage.
Correct.
And only the people who live in the house can get into the garage. Is that right?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Right, Your Honor. And when he moved, he also kept his keys, so I had to change the locks.
So that it had to be somebody in the house.
Correct.
Or a guest of somebody in the house.
And they had lots of guests over.
And they had lots of guests over. I can't help you with that, sir. What else?
I had damage to wooden chairs, approximately $100 a piece, foosball tables. I had collectible posters.
Did you take all that stuff with you?
It was damaged, and I
Did
took
you
it out of
take
the
it
house.
with you?
Yes.
Do you have pictures of it?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Goodbye. You owe him $500. That is for your rent and utilities for the month of March, rent for the month of April. You got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
As far as living in the house, they basically turned it into a frat house.
Oh, that's ridiculous. His best friend's 19, and he passed out drunk every night on the couch.
When we had parties breaking of my property,
blatant lie.
They basically just, dusted off their shoulder and didn't think anything of it.
It feels like he's just reaching, trying not to pay.
Basically get a more mature roommate.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of DeGuire versus Stafford. Step forward.
Steve DeGuire is suing his ex-wife, Kimberly Stafford, for the return of child support. Steve claims that Kimberly has been defrauding him for over a year.
Mr. DeGuire, let's see if we can resolve this today.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Miss Stafford is your former wife, and you have one child. Or
Yes.
you have a child together, a boy. I assume that's this young man right here?
Yes.
You've been divorced for how long?
It's been 18, 19, 20 years. It's been a long time, since 89.
And you've been paying child support since the divorce?
Yes.
And it is your claim that you made several payments of child support after your son turned 18.
Yes.
That you shouldn't have because he was not successfully enrolled in college. And your former wife says, well, he's trying. It's pretty much a defense. What does your judgment of divorce provide for with regard to child support, Mr. DeGuire?
The original divorce decree called for $50 a week, and 89, or no, it was 93, I think it was. It was raised to $467 a month.
Okay. And is that what it remained?
Yes.
And until when are you supposed to pay child support, sir, under the
Until
divorce
he is
decree?
emancipated. Under the state statute, he was supposed to keep a certain grade point average, and he...
Okay. Now, emancipation occurs at different points. I assume it's 18 where you are, unless certain criteria are met.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a copy of that state statute?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it because I was surprised by your interpretation of it. It seems rather subjective. Let me take a look at it. Stand up, young man. Tell me your first name.
Ryan,
How old are you, Ryan?
19,
After your parents divorced, did you have regular visits with your dad?
every weekend.
Get along okay?
Every other weekend. Yeah, everything
Get
went
along
fine.
okay?
Yep.
Great. This statute, do you know what it says? Well, it says that despite the fact that you turned 18, if you're attending a school and successfully complete at least 12 credits, then your dad is supposed to continue to pay his child support until you reach 21. That's what it says.
Okay.
So let's go to last year. What school were you going to?
Jefferson Community College.
Was that your first year of college?
Yeah.
Did you successfully complete 12 credits?
No.
In either semester?
No.
How many credits did you successfully complete?
0.
Why?
I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Halfway through my first semester, I changed my major.
Who did you discuss that with?
One of my counselors and...
Discuss it with your mother?
And my mother, yes.
And when your grades came after the first semester, what kind of discussion did you have with your mother?
That I just needed to try better and to actually figure out what I needed to do. And
so you failed everything?
Right.
And what about the second semester? Now you've changed your major.
And the second semester, same thing.
Miss Stafford?
Yes.
Were you aware of the fact that your former husband was not required to pay child support as long as the statute was not satisfied, which seems pretty detailed?
It does, but to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't have a particular grade point average that...
Doesn't have to have a grade point average. He had a grade point average of 0.
Ryan
this is not a very subjective test.
Right.
It says, so long as the child enrolls for and completes at least 12 hours of credit each semester. Well, he did not complete 12 hours of credit his first semester, and he did not complete 12 hours of credit his second semester.
And the college allows him to re-enroll?
Just a second.
Okay.
Well, that's true, but it says as long as he completes 12 hours of credit each semester and achieves grades sufficient to re-enroll at such institution. Achieves grades.
I understand that.
So, that being the case, you are absolutely 100% correct that Ms. Stafford should return to you, under this statute, all the support that you paid after he turned 18. That's it. There's no issue. Now let's see if we can resolve it. How many children do you have, Mr. DeGuire?
Altogether, counting him, 4.
Is he the oldest?
Yes.
And I assume that from what your son says, you enjoy a good relationship with him.
Yes, it's been very good. Very good.
Great. And I assume you want him to be successful.
Yes, I do.
So why don't we do this? He's 19 years old. I don't think pursuant to this, and you're entitled to your money back, which you're going to get, but pursuant to your moral parental responsibility, not your legal parental responsibility, how about we do this? How about if your son enrolls in school and he successfully completes 12 credits, you give that money directly to him and he gives it to his mother towards the tuition when he shows you his GPA. Would that be satisfactory
That would be
to you,
satisfactory.
sir?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound fair to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound fair to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're starting school in September again?
Yes.
And your father wants you to succeed?
Yes, ma'am.
And your mother wants you to succeed?
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
live at home?
Yes.
When you show your dad your GPA in December, if you successfully complete 12 credits, and he's prepared to accept C's, right?
As long as he's passing.
Then he's going to be putting the money away, $467 a month. He's going to give that money to you, and your mother's going to expect you to turn that money over to her to defray the expenses of you living there, because that's what the statute seems to say. It doesn't provide for a hiatus. But I think from a moral perspective, if you've had a wonderful relationship with him up until this point, you want him to succeed. And if he needed an extra year to do it, I'm sure you want him to have a little bit of wiggle room. He did not do the right thing. And if he was blowing off school and suddenly getting 24 credits of F's, suggests he could have been working in a gas station. He could have been working in Burger King. I mean, what did he have to be walking around school for? He wasn't even going. So he doesn't get any stars for that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,868. With your agreement, sir, that when you see that GPA that is at least a 2.0, he gets the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Fair?
That's fair.
Very good. We'll draw up an order. Thank you.
Parties number 475 on the calendar in the matter of Russell versus Haig.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Why don't you folks have a seat, huh?
Ah, Mr. Russell, this is your complaint, sir. You met the defendant, and shortly after you met her, according to you, you found out that you were going to be incarcerated for a period of time. How long?
6 months, Your Honor.
And was that violation of probation? What was it for?
That was for a DUI.
Clearly not your first.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you and the defendant made up the following agreement. While you were incarcerated, the defendant was going to clean up your house where you had lived with your son. I assume this is the son.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because the house is probably not fit for human beings with 2 men living there and not taking care of it. I assume that you knew that, and you told her that if she cleaned up the house and made it ready for renting, that when you got out of prison, you would move in with her and rent the house so that you would have some additional income. So far, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
The son was living in your house.
Yes.
The defendant and her daughter came to live in your house, and she did what she agreed to do, which was put your house in condition to be rented. Tell me what you did to get the house ready.
Your Honor, you're absolutely right. This house was a complete disaster. I had to have everything done to it. I had to have carpet cleaning. I had to have a maid come in and help clean the walls, the bathrooms. I had to have it painted.
How much of the house was painted?
The living rooms and the boys' bedroom.
Who paid for that?
The kitchen. I did.
Who paid for the renting of the dumpster and all that
I
other
did.
stuff?
I have all the receipts right here.
Okay. And that has nothing to do with your labor?
Nothing to do with my labor.
Then you started to have problems with Mr. Russell's son. What kind of problems did you have?
He was doing very bad in school. He was getting D's and F's. Ditching.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Stealing things, stealing cell phones, stealing money.
From whom?
People at the school, I guess. I assume his friends.
Jan down. Okay, so he was having some trouble. All right, so this is what happened, Mr. Russell. The defendant said, I can't deal with this. And he went to live with whom?
My grandparents.
You told Ms. Haig that this wasn't going to work out, that because she couldn't live with your son, you couldn't live with her, and that she would have to move back to her house, and you weren't going to rent your house because you were going to have to move back into your house with your son when you got out of jail. So far correct?
Somewhat correct, yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Haig left, and it is your claim that she wrote out 2 checks from your checkbook without your permission.
Correct.
And you want that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defendant says, whatever checks I wrote out with your permission. I used them to cover certain expenses that I had. So let us assume, Mr. Russell, that Ms. Haig has bills in order to put your house in order. Did you compensate her for that?
Yes, Your Honor, somewhat
How?
I did.
Not somewhat. Did
okay.
you
Yes.
give her $3,000?
Not the whole $3,000, but close to it before I went in.
How much?
I gave her approximately $2,000 cash, bought her a new garage door, which she needed, and a trailer hitch of hers to be installed in my truck to haul her trailer to my house, which she said she would leave into my truck if I paid that money, which she decided not to do.
So what you're telling me is, forgetting all the other fluff, you gave her $2,000 in cash.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did he give you $2,000 in cash?
Approximately $2,000, I would say.
Okay. Tell me how much she wrote out of your checking account with the
She wrote 2 checks for $5,450. There was 2 checks, one for $4,800 and one for $650.
Did you give her permission to write out either one of those checks?
No, I did not. I asked her to mail me a blank check, and I would fill it out and give it back to her, which I've got proof.
For what?
For approximately $600, $700 for her efforts, just so we can call it even and depart on good terms.
Mr. Russell, you're making a few things up as we go along, sir. The way you said that to me, just for her efforts. What efforts are you talking about?
Her hauling stuff to the dump. She claimed cleaning the house, painting it.
That's a big job, sir. How long did that take her to do?
I'm not really sure. She had one of my friends helping her do it at no cost. Well,
that's good. How long did it take you to put the house in order?
Over 2 months.
Was she there 2 months?
I don't believe she was living at my house because I was calling her when I was in jail at her house, and she was answering. So she was living at her house, but going to my house to do work.
Okay. So that would be the $650.
Approximately, yes. I was going to write her a check for it, but she decided to do it herself.
Okay. Now, you wrote one check for $4,800. What's that for?
The $4,800 he asked me to write because he was trying to get out of jail in a half time, and he wanted to say he had hardship. He needed to get out and support us, and he wasn't allowed to have any money in his bank. So I sent him a blank check, and the jail would not allow him to have it, and he told me to cash it and get the money out of his bank.
So then what did you do with it?
I kept $2,800 and I put $2,000 in his
What did you do
safe.
with the $2,800?
Paid my bills.
Oh, well, then you owe him that. You can't have it both ways. Do you understand? If he gave you $2,000 in cash and you took $2,800 to satisfy those bills, you can't have it twice. You following me?
Yes.
Good. Did she give you any money?
No, Your Honor. She didn't give me anything back.
Where did you put the money?
In his safe inside his trailer. And I took his trailer, all his stuff back over to his house, and I gave the keys to his parents.
Your Honor, it's a little firebox with a broken lock. Doesn't even work.
It's not
a
little.
safe. It's very small, 1 foot by 1 foot, and there was nothing in it but my birth certificate and my son's birth certificate. The trailer wasn't broken into. It was all locked up. She didn't put anything back.
Right. I believe that. I believe she didn't put anything back. You want to know why she didn't put anything back? She didn't put anything back because she was very angry with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I understand that she was angry, but she can't steal your money.
Also,
I didn't steal his money. Your
Yes,
Honor.
you did.
No.
Also, in cleaning
Sure
up my house, she threw away many things which She didn't have permission to throw away.
Well, that's your problem. You should have been more specific. You should have put red dots on everything that you wanted to keep. You told her to clean up your mess, and she cleaned up your mess.
The whole house should have been thrown in the dump.
But you can't steal his money if you're
I
angry.
didn't steal his money, Your Honor.
Yes,
I put it in there.
I don't believe
If anybody stole it, it's his
I don't
son.
believe you. I don't believe that somebody that after spending 2 months cleaning up somebody else's crap, you know, painting and cleaning and getting people over there and going to the dumpster and making 10 trips to the dumpster, and all of a sudden he says to you, sorry, babe, when I come out, it's over. And you say, all right, sweetheart, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to cash this check, I'm going to leave it all for you, you know, just take what I think is mine. You took what you thought you were entitled to. You can't do that. Things didn't work out, they didn't work out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, there are women who spend 25 years cleaning up after a man and they end up with nothing. It only took you 2 months to end up with nothing.
And later today,
What kind of drugs were you abusing?
Meth.
That's serious stuff.
Very serious.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brian Russell says his ex-girlfriend, Patty Haig, stole his personal belongings and money while he was in jail. Patty claims everything she took was with Brian's permission.
Now, are you keeping the place neat?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm attempting to as best I can with 2 men there.
What does that mean? Are you suggesting to me that men are innately slobs?
I don't know if all are, but we are.
Why? You don't look like a slob, Mr. Russell. Look how nicely you're dressed. Got a nice shirt, you got a nice tie, your son's well dressed, he's got a nice clean shirt on, his hair is cut. As far as I can see, he doesn't have any piercings or anything else that I'm looking at, right?
I would consider my house very clean. If you walked in, you'd say it was probably so-so.
After I got done with it.
Yeah, well, didn't work out. Listen, there are women who spend 25 years cleaning up after a man and they end up with nothing. It only took you 2 months to clean up after your man to end up with nothing. Do you understand?
Yes.
You've got to give him back his money. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,800. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think he's a little bit upset about his son not being there and us not being back together.
His grades were bad, but he actually improved them. He got 2 A's and 2 C's his last report card.
He doesn't clean up after himself. All I asked him to do was like pick up after himself.
I was kind of dirty, but I was probably doing 300% better than I usually do.
Next time when I meet someone and I do fall in love, to be careful. Don't leave all your possessions and everything in their control. Be a little more careful and watch your money.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hall versus Smith. Step forward.
Harriet Hall is suing the mother of her grandchild, 22-year-old Allie Smith, for the cost to care for her children after she failed a court-ordered drug test.
Miss Hall, you have a son.
Yes.
Your son made a baby with this lady.
Yes.
This lady had a child from another relationship.
Yes.
You get a call from this lady who says, listen, they're going to take both my kids because I had a positive drug test. Is that right?
Yes.
And would you help me out and take my children because otherwise they're going to go into foster care?
Yes.
You say okay. And you took both her children, your grandchild and her other child. How old?
2.5.
How long did you have the children with you?
Till March 19th. 4 months.
For how many? 4 months.
4 months.
You want Miss Smith to pay support for that child, not your grandchild, but for the other toddler for the 4 months that you had him, boy?
Yes.
And Miss Smith says that there was never an agreement to pay you for either of the children, so she has no obligation to pay you. Is that your defense?
Yes.
You don't have to have an agreement with her.
She didn't ask for any money. She has never asked me for any money until last month when I got this thing in the mail saying that I owed her money.
You mean she never asked you for any support for
Never.
the child? What month did your 2 children go to live with Miss Hall?
December 6th of 2006.
What kind of drugs were you abusing?
Meth.
That's serious stuff.
Very serious.
Did you go into a residential drug treatment program?
No, ma'am. I went to outpatient treatment. I've been clean now for 13 months.
You working?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Great. Your 2 children with you?
Yes, ma'am.
You living on your own?
Yes, ma'am.
Who takes care of the children when you're working?
I have a daycare provider.
All that sounds right to you?
No.
You mean she's not working?
She is working.
She's taking care of her children? They live with her?
Yes.
She has her children in daycare when she's working?
Yes.
So what doesn't sound right to you?
That she wouldn't pay.
Well, I'm not talking about paying. I'm talking about the fact that 13 months later, she seems to be doing very well, right?
Yes.
Why all of a sudden, after 13 months, are you suing her?
Because she's working now and she can help pay me back for the support that I did on Aiden.
Okay. That's reasonable. Did you ever ask her to help you with the support?
Yeah, she said she would the day that I got the kids.
Well, she was pretty messed up. She was using very, very heavy drug. When she got the children back, did you discuss with her finances?
No, I haven't.
So when, for the first time since she got the children back, was she aware of the fact that you wanted her to pay you back for some of the expenses for the child? Did you just serve her with a summons?
Yes.
Why?
Because I felt that she owed for the kids. I took them on extra visits for her. I've done a lot
I
for
understand
her.
that, but weren't you seeing your granddaughter?
Yeah, but she wouldn't let me have her anymore. Now just my son. I have to take my son to pick her up. I can't see her.
Why?
Because she doesn't like me, I guess. I don't know.
Why?
Because she would come to my house and she would throw little fits. She would call people and tell them that I had people living with me that I didn't have living with me. The only reason she did this with the summons is because I wouldn't let her son claim our daughter on his taxes.
You mean for last year?
For 2007. I had them for 9 months out of the year, and I didn't think that
Does he pay support?
Yes, he does.
How much does he pay?
About $400 a month.
Why don't you work something out with him so that 1 year you can claim him, 1 year he can claim him?
Maybe, yeah.
Well,
we
doesn't
never
that sound
even,
reasonable?
me and him discussed it, and we were fine with it. It was when she had come over and said that Gene was upset with me, so I don't know.
Ms.
Me and
Hall,
him would discuss it.
Your mistake is that I wouldn't have served her with a summons, since clearly you care for your granddaughter. You wanted to help her out, but you also wanted your granddaughter in a safe place. So that's what you're supposed to do as a grandmother, to make sure that your grandchild is safe. The fact that you took her other child was very nice of you. Why didn't your other child go with your mother?
Because my mother couldn't take them.
Couldn't take even one of them?
No.
Okay.
And also, she was my son's grandmother before my daughter was even born. If he walked into this courtroom today, he would definitely call her grandma.
Well, she took care of him.
Right.
Okay, you do understand that whether or not you had an agreement with her, you owe her for your son's necessaries. She's not seeking any money for your daughter,
right,
but only for your son. So whether or not you had an agreement with her, the law says that you have to pay her for some of the child's necessary expenses.
Okay.
Now, where is the father of that child?
He's not in the picture.
Okay. How much do you claim that you spent on this child?
For rent.
Forget rent.
$2,200.
Tell me what it was for.
Okay, rent was $750.
Forget rent.
And December.
Listen to me. Did you move?
Okay. Yes,
you
I
move?
moved from my mother's to my sister's because we didn't have enough bedrooms at my mom to deal with the kids. So I moved in with my sister.
You were living with your mother?
Yes, because I was taking care of her.
Tell me the living situation in your sister's house with you and the children. Where did everybody sleep?
Okay, Aiden had a bedroom upstairs, and Addison and I had a bedroom together upstairs. And we had use of the washer, the dryer, the kitchen.
Just a second. How much did you pay in check or cash to your sister each week or month?
Each week I paid $100.
Or $400
a month.
And how many months were you with your sister?
We were there 103 days.
How many months were you
4.
with your sister? So you paid her a total of $1,600. Is that correct?
It wasn't exactly 4 months. It was a week short of 4 months. Aiden was there 15 weeks. So what she paid for him was $750. What she paid total would have been $1,500.
Okay, so $1,500. And you are ascribing half of that to her child?
Well, he had one room, she had one room.
I don't care. That's 3 people. What difference does it make?
I rented out by the room.
I don't care. That's a judgment that she made. They could have all stayed in one room. Okay, so
Not
let's
according
say...
to DHS.
Well, you certified as a multiple dwelling? Are you certified? Is your home certified as a multiple
ma'am.
dwelling? Right. So that's $500. What else?
Then in December, I didn't have protective daycare until January. So I paid for daycare out of my pocket. And for December, we turned in for $380, and they paid $190 of it.
How much?
For Addison's, but they did not pay Aiden's $190.
They did not?
No.
Why?
Because he was not my grandson.
So that's $690. What else?
Okay, and then mileage for daycare.
Forget it.
Okay. And diapers and miscellaneous was $320.
Yeah.
And then we bought clothes and shoes for him and stuff. We estimated $160.
Where are the receipts for that?
I don't bring no receipts for clothing and shoes.
So far, she owes you $990.
And then we bought toys and books and stuff for him.
Did you return them to her when you gave them back?
We gave him some of the
No,
toys and some of it, not all of it.
If you didn't give it back to his mother, then you don't get paid for it.
Yeah. But I gave her clothes and shoes and all that stuff that I bought.
Well, show me the receipts.
I didn't bring receipts.
Well, this is what you're supposed
Part
to
of
bring.
them were gifts for Christmas.
Don't shout out. I believe that the defendant owes you some money for taking care of her child. It is apparent to me that some of the money that you would like to claim that she owes you was money that was spent jointly for both children. You were going to take your granddaughter to daycare anyway, so the mileage is ridiculous to try to have her pay for. She's a woman who has put her life back in order. She's been self-supporting. She takes care of her 2 children. How much do you pay for daycare?
I don't. It's provided by the state.
Great. How much do you earn?
I'm about $450 every 2 weeks.
Okay. Plaintiff is seeking $2,200 from you. I think that that's excessive.
Very.
I think that for rent and food stuff, your portion of that should be $990. And that includes a portion for rent, some for food, clothing, and miscellaneous stuff. Really comprises the rest, and the daycare.
With the clothing, toys, they didn't bring anything home with him. The only thing that they brought home with him, when I got them back on March 19th, I sent him with a basket of clothes, and that was exactly what they brought back. The basket of clothes with his movies in the bottom. It looked as if they never even touched it, and that was all that had come home with him.
I'm sure that they did touch it because he went to daycare, and I'm sure if he was not clean and well kept and everything else, the daycare would have registered a complaint, which they did. But that's what you are. Okay. And I think that it's great that you're in a position now to help her.
Right.
And I'm sure you thank her and are grateful that she kept the kids out of foster care, both the kids out of foster care. And it's wonderful that you put yourself back together. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $990. That's all. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Let me talk about what is Master and Visa card, basically. Okay, so basically Visa and MasterCard both are payment methods, TKG, which are used to accept the payments and make purchases widely. And let me set the camera first. Okay, now I think it's okay now. So what their purpose is basically to make online purchases and to use, and in both cards when you charge it, your balance will be deducted. Okay, so the another thing which is the MasterCard is used for is fees. Visa prohibited merchants from charging additional fees or setting minimum amount for a Visa card purchases, but MasterCard is basically the major one which is used for the purchases as well. So both cards are issued by the banks, or both cards can be operable in 10 countries and also in the United States of America. So United States of America basically issues the mostly Visa cards and their own card which is American Express. So let me talk about what is American Express. Basically, American Express is a global service company that offers a variety of products and services including credit cards, bankings, and travel, global assist, my credit card, etc. So it also offers a credit card with no limits, which include hotel and retail options. Okay, so you can see that American Express card include the hotel options. You can charge it anywhere any else and enjoy it with your near ones and enjoy the limits as well as the finance of it. So basically the uses of these cards like MasterCards, Visa cards and other cards is very rarely used, and you can buy from them products like whatever you want, wherever you want to make it charge. But the thing you have to confirm is that you have the balance in your bank account or in your credit card or MasterCard or Visa card or American Express card, so the amount can be deducted easily. So the another thing is you can choose whatever you can buy things, and the most famous thing, it can work globally. You can charge it in Dubai, in any country you want, in China, in Russia, and Spain, Europe, Italy, France, wherever you are, you can use your cards to make shoppings from stores and to make them, like, you can say that you make purchases. it makes your life easy. So my suggestion is to adopt, definitely adopt the cards, especially from the banks, and having the account, complete the procedure to opening the bank account in any bank according to their own rule and regulations. So you can consult with the bank in which you want to open the cards, open the account, and want to have a credit card or debit card, whatever you can ask from bank. They will guide you as their per rule and regulations. Okay, so follow the rule and regulations, and always be polite, and you only use for legal purposes, and don't break the rules which may be harmful for you, especially in the world as well as in the United States of America. And that's the things which I want to share with you guys. And you can now charge it, and whatever you want is finance and banking systems, etc. So hope you guys like this video, and make sure to share and subscribe it, and keep supporting for such kind of knowledge videos. So thank you so much, and have a good day, have a good night, and have a good evening, also have a good morning. Okay, I don't know at which time you are watching this video, so for all, you have all good things in your life. Thank you so much. Make sure to like and subscribe.